dive into the story. Chapter 1. Monkey King's Inheritance. The wind rustled through a hidden valley, its lush jungle foliage swaying gently under the sun's warm gaze. Somewhere deep within this veiled sanctuary, far away from the wars and politics of the elemental nations, an ancient power stirred. High on a steep mountainside, perched on a grand outcrop of stone, was the fabled Flower F. Root Mountain, home of the legendary Monkey King, Sun Wukong. For centuries, that name had vanished from mortal ears. Yet here he remained, a mythic figure of mischief and rebellion, reigning over his domain of countless monkey spirits. Lesser creatures, and one very peculiar, golden-haired child, Naruto Uzumaki, though his own name had never been spoken in his presence, was barely old enough to string words together when Sun Wukong had discovered him. He was found wailing within a damaged basket left near a rugged pass along the valley's entrance. Even the greatest of sages might have overlooked this tiny life. But Wukong had sensed it immediately. A powerful, simmering energy reminiscent of a mighty beast, coupled with an odd swirl of destiny. Sun Wukong, having lived hundreds of years amid gods and demons, recognized that the child carried more than just a mortal soul. Not only was there the faint presence of a monstrous chakra, the Kyuubi sealed within him, but deeper still was something intangible. A spark that stirred the ancient monkey's curiosity. This child, however, was starving and alone. The decision was simple. He took the boy into the hidden realm. And that act set a new story in motion. They called him Naruto in passing, though he wasn't entirely sure why. Sun Wukong himself had gleaned the name from a fragile scrap of cloth that had been tucked around the child's body. Over time, Naruto learned rudimentary speech from the monkey spirits who prowled the forests, from the reclusive wise monkeys who clutched scrolls in hidden grottos. And from Wukong himself, Naruto learned the brilliance of cunning, the mischief of illusions, and the unwavering confidence that came from knowing one's own power. By the time Naruto was 5, he'd already begun training in staff combat. It started playfully, a small wooden rod shaped from bamboo, used to whack at low-hanging fruit. Except Naruto took to it with an uncanny ease. He pivoted, flipped, and spun around the mountain-top clearing in a blur of blonde hair and ragged clothes, tangling with playful monkey warriors. At first, these simian guardians found it hilarious, a tiny human child trying to match their acrobatic movements. But as the months passed, Naruto's natural knack for unpredictable footwork became evident. His staff strikes turned sharper, more precise, and occasionally glimmered with a golden hue that made the lesser monkeys squeal with excitement or fear. Sun Wukong watched from a distance, perched on a crag of stone. Though his outward demeanor was relaxed, sometimes nibbling on a piece of fruit, sometimes lying sprawled on his back in the sun, his keen eyes never missed a beat. The Monkey King recognized potential when he saw it. More than that, he felt a certain kinship with this boy. Naruto's rebellious grin, that near-limitless zest for life, reminded Wukong of himself in days long past, when he challenged the heavens themselves. By age 8, Naruto had begun to wield a staff nearly as tall as he was. It was no longer just a flimsy piece of bamboo. Wukong himself had fashioned it from a special black iron found in the mountain's depths. Naruto's chores now included balancing on precarious ledges, crossing rope bridges with the staff in hand, fending off spirited monkey ambushes designed to sharpen his reflexes. He grew stronger, and his bright azure eyes sparkled with mischief. When the wind howled through the valley, Naruto often swore it whispered to him, encouraging him to leap higher, run faster, test the limits of what mortals deemed impossible. And so he did, day in and day out. He soared across rocky outcrops and wrestled giant monkeys nearly 3 times his size. More than once, he ended up battered, bruised, or half buried in monkey droppings. The older monkeys had a twisted sense of humor. Yet he rose every time, grin undeterred. In these early years, the only direct guidance Sun Wukong provided was intangible. He let Naruto struggle, let him experiment. He rarely scolded the boy, never tried to stifle his curiosity. Instead, Wukong occasionally offered cryptic remarks like, "Reach farther," or, "Trust your instincts, kid," or most frequently, "Don't lose sight of yourself." Sometimes Naruto asked, "What does that mean, lose sight of myself?" And Wukong would simply shrug with a wicked grin, replying, "You'll know when you know." Despite that ambiguity, Naruto flourished in this environment. He was free from any pressure to prove himself to a clan or to a village. There was no stigma of being a Jinchuriki here, no suspicious eyes watching his every move. Only the open wilderness, an ancient monkey dynasty, and one of the most powerful immortal beings in any realm. A shift in the air. When Naruto was about 10, something changed. He noticed at first when the skies grew turbulent for a few days, the weather turning strangely ominous. Even the monkey spirits, usually carefree, chattered nervously in the treetops. "Hey, Furball," he led one morning to a particularly large silver-furred monkey who had taken a liking to him. "Why's everyone on edge? Storm coming." Furball, or Fuai, as Wukong had named him, huffed. "We sense a disturbance. Some celestial presence is near. Master Wukong is on guard." Naruto raised a brow. "Celestial presence?" Fuai grimaced, revealing sharp canines. "The ones from above, who once warred with the king. Some of them still hold grudges." That night, Naruto tried to question son Wukong directly about it. He found the Monkey King gazing out over the valley under the moonlight, staff resting on his shoulder. "Oi, old monkey," Naruto teased, approaching carefully. "What's going on? I hear talk of celestial visitors." Wukong shot him a side glance but didn't appear annoyed. "Sometimes old enemies get curious. They poke around, try to see if I'm up to my old tricks." Naruto crossed his arms. "So, are they dangerous?" The Monkey King chuckled, spinning his staff lightly. "Danger is relative, brat. But if they're foolish enough to attack my domain, we'll show them what it means to rouse the Monkey King's wrath." He glanced down at Naruto with an amused gleam in his eyes. "If you're really curious, go meet them." That was all the invitation Naruto needed. The first skirmish. They came at dawn. 3 beings cloaked in silver robes, riding clouds of shimmering energy. Their faces were unnaturally pale. Eyes narrowed with disdain as they spotted the host of monkeys gathering below. Naruto perched on a tall boulder, staff across his lap. He'd never encountered anyone from beyond the mountain, let alone the rumored celestials. Adrenaline hummed beneath his skin, a thrill coursing through him. One of the silver-robed figures glided forward, voice echoing, "Son Wukong. You have sheltered yourself in this mountain for too long. Are you finally ready to?" But he trailed off, attention captured by the sight of Naruto leaping off the boulder in a graceful arc. A mere child, blonde hair spiked in all directions. Meeting them fearlessly, Naruto spun his staff with confidence that bordered on arrogance. "Hey, you guys lost or something?" One celestial curled his lip, unimpressed. "A mortal child, is this some joke, Wukong?" A chode from higher up the slope. Sun Wukong sat on a rocky ledge, barely visible against the morning light, his arms folded. He didn't interfere. He merely observed. The lead celestial frowned. "We didn't come to play with your pet." Naruto's grin widened. "Pet, buddy, you're in the Monkey King's territory. Better watch your mouth." The man sneered. Silence. And with that, he loosed a blast of shimmering energy from his open palm. It cut across the air in a spiraling wave. Naruto braced himself. Instinct flared. He raised his staff, still just the black iron rod, and met that energy head-on. The impact shoved him back several feet, boots skidding across the rocky ground. His arms trembled from the force. But to the Celestials' shock, the boy didn't crumble. Instead, he twisted around, absorbing the blow with surprising resilience. "Not bad," Naruto muttered, shaking feeling back into his arms. "But I've had worse from the monkeys around here." A second Celestial hissed and soared forward, summoning a spear of crackling blue light. Naruto's heart pounded. He might have been young, but he wasn't stupid. He moved on pure reflex, weaving under the spear's lunge, using the staff to deflect the blow. Sparks flew. The exchange was swift. Naruto exhaled, letting that golden energy within him surge. Over the years, he had felt it bubble up whenever he was truly in a fight, like invisible fire swirling through his veins. He called on it now, and the rod in his hands glimmered faintly. With a heavy pivot, he struck the Celestial's flank, sending the robed man crashing into a tree. Leaves exploded everywhere. The remaining two attackers stiffened, eyeing him warily. Up on his ledge, Wukong whistled in approval, though he made no move to help. "You arrogant mortal," the last celestial spat, "we'll show you your place." What followed was a flurry of movement. Naruto dodged blasts of luminous energy, staff spinning like a blur. He used the boulders as springboards, flipping overhead to slam his rod down on the celestials, forcing them to separate. Monkey warriors screeched from the sidelines, some cheering, others preparing to intervene if Naruto faltered. One of the robed foes tried to conjure a swirling orb of pure celestial might. Naruto, guided by instincts sharpened from daily sparring, somersaulted behind him, hooking the staff around his waist. He used the leverage to hurl the celestial into the ground. The robed figure choked on dust, pride scattered along with the rocks. The final attacker launched a desperate assault, handling a powerful beam that cut through the air like a blade. Naruto recognized he couldn't just block it. He recalled a lesson from some of the older monkey warriors who used illusions to misdirect opponents. With a flicker of focus, Naruto unleashed a partial transformation technique. His body split into 3 identical clones. For the robed celestial, it looked like there were now 3 swirling incarnations of a blonde, staff-wielding boy. Confused, the attacker swiped out at one, only for the real Naruto to appear from behind, staff crackling with a golden sheen. "Try this on for size," Naruto yelled, bringing the rod down. The celestial's barrier shattered in a flash of sparks, and the robed figure staggered, collapsing to his knees. Panting slightly, Naruto let his illusions fade. The 3 celestials, battered, bruised, and thoroughly humiliated, collected themselves and fled by summoning drifting clouds. They glared back at him with hatred, but none dared continue the fight. "They'll remember this, Wukong," snarled the last one as they rose into the sky. "You and your protege." Naruto offered them nothing but a triumphant grin, twirling his staff one last time. Above, Wukong hopped down from his vantage point, landing lightly on the ground next to Naruto. He gave the boy a lazy grin and patted his shoulder. "Nice job. You used your head well, and your illusions, too." Naruto's cheeks flushed slightly at the praise, but he tried to play it cool. "They weren't that tough," he said, though his arms still trembled from the exertion. "But who were they?" Wukong shrugged. "Servants of the Jade Emperor. Celestials who still hold a grudge against me. I imagine they wanted to confirm rumors that I've been grooming a successor." "Successor?" Naruto blinked. The Monkey King laughed, boisterous and full of old mischief. "What? Don't act so surprised. Did you think I was letting you fool around with those monkeys all day for no reason?" Naruto scratched his head, a bit lost. "I just like playing with them." Wukong barked another laugh. "Exactly. It's in your nature to be playful, restless, defiant. Just like me, but you've also got that big heart, that unstoppable drive to protect your friends. Also like me." He paused, eyes glinting. "And if those celestials are paying attention, it means you're starting to make a ripple beyond these mountains." Naruto rubbed his chin, gaze drifting to the path where the strangers had fled. "I guess so." The older being smiled gently. "Kid, you've got more potential than you realize. But with great power comes big consequences. You'll learn soon." Naruto sensed there was a deeper meaning in Wukong's words, but he didn't quite grasp it yet. All he felt was excitement, and maybe the slightest pang of curiosity about the world outside Flower Fruit Mountain. Seeds of curiosity. In the following weeks, Naruto's mind often wandered to that brief clash. Those silver-robed figures had been strong, maybe stronger than any foes he'd faced among the Monkey Clan. Yet he had overpowered them with creative illusions and raw, unstoppable staff work. He found himself pondering what else existed beyond the valley. If there were celestials in the sky, what about normal people down on the ground? He knew he wasn't a monkey. He knew that somewhere out there were other humans. It stirred in him a restlessness he couldn't name, a longing to see more. His chance arrived in the form of an unexpected conversation with Sun Wukong one evening. The setting sun painted the rocky crags in shades of gold and pink as Naruto and Wukong sat side by side on a broad ledge. "Kid, you know you're human, right?" the Monkey King asked suddenly. Naruto blinked. "Well, yeah, I don't look like a monkey, unless you count my love for bananas." Wukong smirked. You're a clown. You know that. Takes one to know one. They shared a short laugh. Then Wukong's face turned oddly serious. You've grown strong here, and I'm proud of you. But if you stay in this mountain forever, you'll never find out who you really are. There's a world out there that needs shaking up, and I have a feeling you're meant to do that. Naruto leaned forward, heart thudding. So, I can leave. I'm not forcing you to go. Wukong lifted his gaze to the horizon. But I think you want to, even if you don't fully realize it. There's someone, inside you. You carry a fox spirit sealed in your stomach, a tailed beast. If you remain here, you'll never learn what that means for you. Naruto recalled the times he'd sensed a heavy, red-tinged presence in his dreams. Something bestial but also lonely. He'd asked Wukong about it once, but the Monkey King had been vague, telling him only that it was a powerful creature bound to his soul. And, my parents, Naruto ventured hesitantly. Did I have any? Son Wukong shrugged, honest in his ignorance. All I know is that you were left in that basket. That was your story's beginning as far as I'm concerned. The rest is up to you to discover. A swirl of emotions churned inside Naruto. Curiosity, excitement, maybe a twinge of fear. But overshadowing it all was a grin he couldn't hide. The idea of venturing out, meeting other humans, and learning about his origins lit a fire in him. All right, he said softly. I'll go. Wukong nodded. Then preparations. Staff of the Monkey King. At sunrise, Naruto was awakened by the sound of Wukong whistling outside his small hut. The boy yawned, stumbling out into the crisp morning air. He was stunned to see a large gathering of monkey spirits assembled in a semicircle. Some clutched small gifts, banana bunches, fruit baskets, carved trinkets, while others simply watched, expressions solemn. Furball stepped forward, pressing a carved jade bracelet into Naruto's hands. For protection, he murmured, and so you remember us. Naruto felt his chest tighten with unexpected emotion. In this place, he had found a family, one that accepted him wholeheartedly, never condemning him for any demon sealed inside. Sung Wukong waved him over with a grin. Come on, brat, there's something I need to give you. The Monkey King stood before a stone altar. On it rested a brilliant golden staff, at least. It appeared golden, though Naruto sensed it was made from a strange, indestructible metal. Engraved along its length were swirling patterns reminiscent of clouds and wind. This, Wukong began, as the Ruyi Jingu bang. My staff. He ran a hand along the surface, voice tinged with reverence. It's capable of stretching to unimaginable lengths, shrinking to the size of a needle, and answering to the will of its master. It has toppled armies, shaken mountains, and defied the heavens. Naruto's eyes bulged. That's your staff. I've heard the legends from the older monkeys. That's the one you used back then. Wukong nodded. And now, I'm entrusting it to you. The entire gathering of monkeys gasped in unison. Some chatter broke out. He's giving the staff away. To a human. This has never happened before. Naruto stepped closer, unsure if he should even touch such a relic. But, this is yours, he said hoarsely. I can't just. Shut it, brat, Wukong interrupted, but not unkindly. You've earned it. For centuries, the staff was my partner in rebellion. Now, it's time for new adventures. Besides, his eyes narrowed with that signature confidence. I can always call it back if you get careless. That last part made Naruto grin. So I don't actually own it, I'm just babysitting it for you. Think of it however you want, Wukong said, placing the staff in Naruto's hands. The metal felt warm, thrumming with living energy that responded to Naruto's chakra and something deeper, maybe Wukong's own essence or the swirling fox spirit inside him. A hush settled. Naruto cradled the staff and bowed his head. Thank you, he whispered, sincerity lacing every syllable. Wukong clapped him on the shoulder, face momentarily gentle. Don't mention it, kid. Just do me proud. The parting. An hour later, Naruto stood at the boundary of the hidden valley. The path beyond wound through dense jungles before finally opening onto the wider world. A wave of nostalgia and excitement clashed inside him as he turned to face his simian family one last time. Don't get all sappy, he teased, forcing bravado. I'll come back and visit once I've conquered whatever's out there. Few I snorted. You better, or we'll come drag you back by your hair." A chorus of monkey shrieks and whistles rose in agreement. Naruto laughed, raising the Rui Jingu Bang in salute. Sun Wukong approached from behind, gaze fixed ahead on the silhouette of distant lands. "You'll find villages out there, ninja villages. They're nothing like us. Humans can be complicated, cruel, and surprisingly kind sometimes. Remember my lessons. Be bold, trust your instincts, and never let them chain you down." Naruto nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He turned away, toward the unknown. Without further words, he began his journey, staff in hand, heart pounding, mind ablaze with possibilities. He traveled for days, trekking through forests that gradually gave way to gentler hills. He encountered small settlements where strangers stared at his unusual attire, ragged pants, open vest, and the imposing golden staff slung across his back. More than once, villagers whispered about how he seemed too young to be a wandering warrior, but no one dared approach after sensing the confidence he exuded. Every so often, Naruto would find a quiet clearing, rest, and practice new staff movements. The Rui Jingu Bang felt both familiar and alien in his hands. With a mental command, he discovered it could shrink to the size of a pen or grow taller than the trees. A playful grin off an ass lit his face as he tested these powers, using the staff as a pole vault to cross rivers, or as a slender needle he tucked into his pocket when he wanted to move incognito. At night, as he made camp under the stars, he sometimes felt a phantom presence, Sun Wukong's aura, or maybe just the memory of his voice. He also felt that fox spirit, stirring in the depths of his consciousness. Now that he was away from the mountain, its presence was more tangible, occasionally pulsing in time with his heartbeat. Encounter on the road. On the 5th day, Naruto spotted a group of merchants being harassed by bandits on a forest road. The bandits, 5 of them, sneered at the cowering travelers, brandishing swords and crude knives. Naruto paused in the underbrush, quietly appraising the situation. He LD easily slipped past. This wasn't his problem. But a small voice inside him, accompanied by the memory of Wukong's creed, "Protect those who can't protect themselves," spurred him forward. He emerged calmly onto the road, staff resting on his shoulder. The merchants gasped in surprise while the bandits spun around. "You idiots again," Naruto said, exasperated, though this was his first time meeting them. "Don't you ever find a better hobby than robbing travelers?" One bandit, a hulking man with a scar across his nose, spat. "Who do you think you are, brat?" "Me," Naruto shrugged, stepping forward till only a couple strides separated him from the group. "Just someone who's had enough of your nonsense." A second bandit snorted. "Let's see you try and stop us, kid. You'll regret." He never finished. Faster than the eye could track, Naruto lengthened the staff, jabbing it into the man's stomach. The bandit flew backward with a wheeze, crashing into a tree. The others gawked, momentarily stunned. Naruto pressed the advantage, swinging the staff in a wide arc, forcing them to scatter. Then, letting that monkey-trained footwork guide him, he spun low, sweeping the staff around to trip 2 more bandits. Wait, one stammered as he scrambled to his feet. Naruto didn't wait. He pressed the staff's tip to the bandit's throat. "Get lost," he warned quietly. "And if I catch you messing with innocent people again, you'll be sorry." The bandits, thoroughly shaken by the child's impossible skill, hauled themselves away, muttering curses. Naruto didn't bother chasing them. Turning to the merchants, he gave a lopsided grin. "You folks okay?" An older man with trembling hands approached. Yes, thank you, young warrior. How could we ever repay?" Naruto raised a palm. "No repayment needed. Just do me a favor. Spread the word that there's a blonde guy with a golden staff wandering around, and he's not to be trifled with." He left them with that cheeky remark, bounding off into the forest. It felt good to help. Even better, it confirmed that the world outside Flower Fruit Mountain was full of these kinds of injustices, and he was eager to test himself against bigger challenges. Restless dreams. That night, Naruto experienced one of his most vivid dreams yet. He stood on a sea of clouds, bathed in a harsh crimson light. The 9-tailed fox, an enormous presence, loomed behind him, each tail swishing with ominous power. "You are different," a voice rumbled. "That staff's aura, that monkey's mischief. It cloaks my presence." But I am here, do not forget that. Naruto faced the shadow of the Kyuubi, feeling NGE connection. I haven't forgotten you, he murmured. But you're not in control, I am. A low growl reverberated across the clouds, making them tremble. For now, Naruto stood firm. Look, I don't know what happened when you were sealed in me, but I'm not looking to be your friend or your enemy. I've got my own path, and if you want to tag along, that's your choice. The fox snarled, but the tension in the dreamscape wavered, as if the beast wasn't used to such direct confrontation from a mere human child. Before it could retaliate, Naruto felt the dream dissolving around him. As he woke, he thought, even if this fox tries something, I've got my own power, and Wukong's backing. I won't let fear rule me. That conviction lent him confidence. Approaching the land of fire. After nearly 2 weeks of journeying, Naruto caught the first glimpses of well-worn roads and signposts marking the land of fire's territory. The closer he got, the more frequently he saw ninjas traveling in squads. They wore headbands with a leaf symbol etched onto the metal plate. Some gave him suspicious glances, but none challenged him directly. On a bright afternoon, he finally glimpsed the massive gates of Konohagakure, the hidden leaf village, rising from beyond the tree line. His pulse quickened. He'd heard rumors in passing about this place. The strongest of the great shinobi nations, some had claimed, home to legendary warriors. He marched up to the gate, staff resting casually against his shoulder. 2 gate guards stood at attention, Izumo and Katetsu, though Naruto didn't know their names. They eyed him warily. Halt, one of them said. State your name and business in Konoha. Naruto gave them a dazzling grin. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm here to, He paused, tapping his chin with the staff. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe to see what this village is all about. Heard you guys are big on ninjas. I might be interested in that. The guards exchanged glances. Naruto Uzumaki. The name stirred a memory. Wasn't that the surname of the 4th Hokage's wife? And the 4th had a child who had died, or so they thought. They hesitated, and then the other guard cleared his throat. One moment, please. Naruto shrugged amiably. Sure, I'll wait. A few minutes later, an Anbu operative, masked and swift, arrived, courtesy of the gate guard's urgent message. He studied Naruto from head to toe, eyes lingering on the staff. The Hokage will want to see you, the Anbu said curtly, voice muffled by the mask. Follow me, audience with the 3rd Hokage. The journey through the village was surreal. Naruto found himself walking along bustling streets flanked by shops, restaurants, and training grounds. The chatter of civilians and shinobi alike filled the air. Ryan he passed seemed to do a double take at the golden-haired boy with a strange staff. Some looked curious, some apprehensive. Naruto's heart thrummed with excitement. So this is a ninja village. It's lively. The Anbu led him straight to the Hokage Tower. Inside a grand office overlooking the village sat an elderly man in white robes, the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. He watched Naruto's entrance with narrowed eyes, exhaling a faint wisp of smoke from the pipe clamped between his teeth. You can leave us, Hiruzen said to the Anbu, who vanished in an instant. Naruto walked up, stopping a respectful distance from the desk. He had no idea what the protocols were, so he just waved casually. Yo, Hiruzen blinked, lips curving into a slight smile. Hello, young man, I am Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage of Konohagakure. Naruto cocked his head. Hokage. So you're the leader here? Yes. Hiruzen rose from his seat, hands behind his back. He looked Naruto up and down, mind racing with questions. The boy's hair, those unmistakable whisker-like marks on his cheeks. It was as if Minato Namikaze's features were reconstituted in front of him. Your name, you said, is Naruto Uzumaki. That's right, Naruto answered, a note of pride in his voice. The Hokage's eyes softened. Minato's son, somehow alive, standing before me. He forced down the surge of memories and motioned for Naruto to sit. I suppose you have quite the story. Naruto plopped into the chair, staff laid across his lap. Well, I was raised in a hidden valley by a certain, mentor. Then I got curious about the outside world and decided to come here. Hiruzen arched a brow. Your mentor? Who exactly is he? Naruto gave a mischievous grin. You probably wouldn't believe me. Try me. Naruto took a breath. Sung Wukong, the Monkey King. I lived on Flower Fruit Mountain for as long as I can remember. Hiruzen's pipe nearly slipped from his mouth. The Monkey King from ancient legends. The staff was a dead giveaway now. I see. He paused, letting that sink in. And how did you come to meet Sun Wukong? He found me abandoned when I was a baby, or so he said. Naruto's voice was surprisingly steady. Said he sensed something in me and took me in. Quote, Hiruzen closed his eyes, mind swirling. The boy had a powerful aura, so potent that it dwarfed even what he'd expect from a Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. There, he was also the staff, radiating faint but unmistakable celestial energy. Well, Hiruzen said softly, I'm glad you've returned to Konoha. This is your birthplace, after all. We believed you. He trailed off. Was it appropriate to reveal the entire story? Minato's dying act, Kushina's sacrifice, the sealing of the Nine Tails. He glanced at Naruto, who watched him intently. Perhaps some truths should be shared gradually. Naruto's brows furrowed. So I am from here. Hiruzen mustered a kind smile. Yes, indeed, your parents were revered here. Though their story ended tragically. He set his pipe aside. I'll answer your questions in time, Naruto. But for now, let's get you settled. You'll likely want to experience life as a shinobi, won't you? Naruto's grin was immediate. That's part of why I came. The Hokage nodded. Though you appear quite skilled. He eyed the staff, recalling the gate guard's reports. We still have protocols. Typically, children your age enroll in the ninja academy. But you're clearly beyond that level. Naruto shrugged. I'm not exactly normal, old man. Hiruzen let out a light chuckle. No, you're not. In that case, we'll evaluate you personally. Whispers among the elders. Later that day, the Hokage convened briefly with a few trusted advisors. Not the entire council. Too many prying eyes and hidden agendas, but just a small circle to decide how to handle this sudden arrival. One of them, an old shinobi named Homura, frowned deeply. If he truly is Naruto Uzumaki, then he's the vessel for the Nine Tails. Kaharu, another elder, looked uneasy. You say he's carrying a staff from Sun Wukong. That kind of artifact is beyond our normal understanding. This complicates matters. Hiruzen folded his arms inside his robes. Complicated or not, the boy has returned. As Hokage, it's my duty to see that he's integrated, taught, and protected. The seal Minato created is still in place, but Naruto's own power seems to overshadow it. I'm not yet sure of the implications. Homura rubbed his temples. We must ensure that he doesn't become a threat. The third's gaze hardened. He's a child of Konoha. We won't treat him as an enemy. Of course, Lord Hokage, Kaharu said quietly. Though worry lingered in her eyes. Naruto's temporary lodging. Night fell, and Naruto found himself assigned a small apartment in Konoha's residential district. It was humble, a bit dusty from disuse. But it had a bed, a bathroom, and a window overlooking a quiet street. Naruto, who had only ever slept in a simple hut or under starlight, found the concept of heaven. Personal indoor space saw him onto the bed, staff propped against the wall. A tired sigh escaped him, but a spark of excitement still flickered in his eyes. I'm here, Konoha, the place I supposedly come from. And the old man said my parents were important. Who were they? 1,000 questions circled his mind. He felt an odd ache of longing, like he was missing a piece of himself. That feeling was countered by the memory of Flower Fruit Mountain, of Wukong's unwavering presence. Maybe I can find some answers here, he thought. He drifted to sleep, lulled by the distant hum of village nightlife. Strange welcome. Morning arrived, and Naruto found himself summoned to the academy training grounds. Hiruzen had arranged a personal test to gauge Naruto's abilities. At the outskirts of the field, curious onlookers gathered. Baruka Yumino, a Chunin instructor, and a handful of older students who had heard rumors about some blonde kid with a magic staff. Well, Baruka said under his breath, eyeing Naruto with surprise. He's older than our graduating class, maybe around 12 or 13. But he's never been in the academy before. Next to Baruka stood another instructor, Mizuki, who looked less welcoming. He must be uneducated in ninja basics. We'll see. Naruto, Wearing the same ragged outfit, he refused to discard the comfortable garb from the mountain, strolled onto the field. His staff was shrunken down to the size of a baton at the moment, clipped to his belt. He eyed the spectators calmly, trying not to smirk at their gawking faces. Hiruzen stepped forward, nodding to Iruka. We'll have him demonstrate a few basic jutsu. Then a spar. Understood, Iruka said, stepping up. Naruto, we'd like to see if you can perform the Bunshin no Jutsu clone technique. Naruto scratched his nose. Bunshin no Jutsu, huh? Quote. From behind, Mizuki scoffed. It's an E-rank technique. Even academy students learn it. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing on his chakra. Over the years, Wukong had shown him all sorts of illusions and transformation tricks. The concept of Bunshin was a lesser variant. With a casual shrug, Naruto formed a hand seal he had seen monkey warriors mimic. With a rush of air, half a dozen clones popped into existence around him, each perfectly identical, not a single flaw in their appearance or stance. Iruka's jaw dropped a little. That's a solid clone technique. Actually better quality than average illusions. Naruto's clones scratched their heads in unison. Too easy, they said together, then vanished in a puff of smoke. Mizuki, though forced to hide his surprise, managed a curt nod. Very well. Next, the substitution jutsu. Naruto smirked. Sure. He gestured to a scarecrow dummy at the far end of the field. In a heartbeat, there was a swirl of wind, and Naruto swapped places with it, leaving the scarecrow behind in his spot. Even Iruka, a seasoned teacher, couldn't help but marvel at the speed. Remarkable, Hiruzen said softly. The small crowd of onlookers grew, some of them students who finished class early, pointing and murmuring about the new arrival. A pink-haired girl in the distance, Sakura Haruno, frowned with curiosity, while an equally intrigued platinum blonde Ino Yamanaka narrowed her eyes, as if deciding whether to approach. The spar. Next came the real test. Hiruzen nodded to a nearby Chunin named Hayama. Hayama, you'll engage Naruto in a friendly spar. Let's see how he handles a real opponent. Hayama was no slouch. He was an experienced Chunin, known for his skill with a short sword. He stepped into the training ground, facing Naruto with measured confidence. Ready, Naruto grinned, retrieving his staff from his belt. With a mental command, the weapon elongated until it was about his own height. Whenever you are, Hayama launched forward, sword flashing in the morning light. Naruto's eyes sharpened. He sidestepped the initial slash, letting the staff absorb the brunt of the blow with a metallic clang. The force reverberated up Naruto's arms, but he'd dealt with far stronger blows from monkey warriors and even celestials. He counterattacked, sweeping the staff low. Hayama jumped, twisting midair, and aimed a strike at Naruto's shoulder. Naruto smirked, shrinking the staff so quickly that Hayama missed, then re-extending it to smack the Chunin's ribs. Hayama stumbled back with a grunt of pain. A murmur of astonishment rippled through the watchers. In the stands, Iruka blinked, whispering, his mastery of that staff. He's making it change size at will, all while fighting. Mizuki folded his arms, face unreadable. Hiruzen observed silently, evaluating Naruto's every movement. Hayama recovered, weaving through a series of hand seals. Fire style. Flame bullet. He shouted, exhaling a torrent of fire at Naruto. For a moment, Naruto considered matching the jutsu with a technique of his own. Might be too flashy. Instead, he used an acrobatic leap, reminiscent of monkey movements, springing high into the air. The flames roared beneath him, charring the grass, but Naruto soared overhead with a whoop. Then, mid-flight, he summoned a swirl of golden chakra around the staff, spinning downward like a comet. Hayama threw himself aside, but Naruto twisted at the last second, altering the path of the blow so it grazed Hayama's shoulder, sending him sprawling. The fight ended before it truly began. Hayama knelt, breathing heavily, sword lying a few feet away. Naruto stood a few steps away, staff resting on the ground, a look of calm satisfaction on his face. I yield, Hayama managed, that a seemingly pre-teen boy had bested him. The onlookers erupted in whispers. A few gasps, some amazement, and at least one muffled cheer. Naruto spun the staff once and let it shrink back to baton size. Hiruzen stepped forward, trying to maintain his composure. Naruto. That was an impressive display. Naruto scratched his ear sheepishly. Thanks, old man. A little spark of laughter trickled from a few watchers. Hiruzen cleared his throat. Yes, well, I believe we can forego the usual academy process. I'll assign you to a genin team, so you can learn to work with others and adapt to ninja operations. Naruto wasn't entirely sure what that meant, but the idea of having teammates intrigued him. Works for me. Report here tomorrow morning, the Hokage directed. We'll finalize the details. Naruto nodded. He felt eyes on him from all around, especially from a few curious teenage girls. When his gaze swept over them, he gave a small wink, which made more than one face flush. Ino coughed and turned away hastily, while Sakura just stared, not sure how to react. Naruto, for his part, felt a rush of amusement. Interesting place, he mused. Quiet reflections. That evening, Naruto wandered the village. He tried ramen for the first time. Ichiraku Ramen, a humble stand where Chuki and Ayame welcomed him with bright smiles. The savory broth and noodles nearly made him swoon with delight. Why didn't we have something like this on the mountain? He exclaimed between mouthfuls. Chuki laughed. Sounds like you're a fan. Keep coming back, and we'll keep your bowl full. Later, Boruto found a secluded training ground behind the academy. Under the moonlight, he twirled his staff in slow, deliberate movements. He thought of Wukong, hoping the old monkey was watching from afar. I wonder if you ever pictured me here. Old man, he reflected. In this place, they talk about ninjas and jutsu. It's kinda different from illusions and transformations, but maybe I can mix them together. He executed a fluid series of strikes, the staff glinting in the moon's glow. The memories of his time on Flower Fruit Mountain swelled in his chest. The monkey clan, the laughter, the open sky. Out he stood in a village full of humans, a quiet sense of homesickness tugged at him. Still, the excitement of forging a new path overshadowed any lingering sadness. He was determined to find out he even shake up this shinobi world along the way. A troubling omen, unbeknownst to Naruto. At that very moment, a figure watched him from the shadow of a tall tree. This observer wore a mask with a twisting pattern and radiated a strange, unsettling presence. Behind that mask, cold eyes followed Naruto's every move. A whisper escaped the figure's lips. The Jinchuriki, raised by the Monkey King. Interesting. Then, like a phantom, the figure vanished into the night, leaving no trace behind. Dawn of a new adventure. Morning broke over Konoha, painting the rooftops in soft, golden light. Naruto made his way to the Hokage's office once more, passing through bustling streets where shinobi hustled to their duties. He couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement at the thought of being assigned to a team. Working with others, that's new, he mused. But hey, I can adapt. In the corridor leading to Hiruzen's office, he nearly collided with a pink-haired girl carrying a stack of papers. Whoa, sorry, he said, sidestepping. She blinked up at him. No, it's fine. She studied him carefully. You're that Naruto, right? The one who beat a Chunin yesterday. Naruto scratched his cheek. Yeah, that's me. You are Sakura Haruno. She hesitated, then offered a small smile. You're kinda different. He grinned. I get that a lot. She nodded, looking a bit flustered for reasons she couldn't pin down. And scurried away. Naruto shrugged, chalking it up to normal human awkwardness. Entering the Hokage's office, he found Hiruzen seated behind his desk, accompanied by several other shinobi. A lanky silver-haired man with a mask over his face, a bored expression only visible through one eye, a spiky-haired youth in a high-collared outfit with lazy eyes, who stood with a group of younger ninjas, and a stern-faced boy with dark hair and an Uchiha crest on his back. Naruto recognized that last symbol from some fleeting mention of Uchiha, supposedly a famous clan of the Leaf. The boy's onyx eyes flickered to Naruto, measuring him with cold detachment. And you must be Naruto, the masked man said in a casual drawl. I'm Kakashi Hatake. The Hokage gestured toward the group. Naruto, I'm placing you in a newly formed Team 7. Your teammates will be Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, and your Junin sensei is Kakashi. Normally, we group academy graduates, but given your exceptional circumstances, this arrangement might be beneficial for everyone. Sasuke gave a barely perceptible sneer. So you're the loud one who thinks he's powerful. Naruto arched a brow, unimpressed by the attitude. He simply offered a cool smile. Got a problem with that? Sasuke turned away. No further comment. Kakashi scratched the back of his head. Well, this should be interesting. Hiruzen coughed. Yes, quite. You three will undertake missions as a team, under Kakashi's guidance. Naruto, consider this your official induction into Konoha's shinobi ranks, albeit at the genin level. Naruto nodded slowly, excitement brimming behind his clear blue eyes. So this is it, my first step into the ninja world. He glanced at Sasuke, who stood stiffly, arms crossed. Then he remembered the pink-haired girl from earlier. So that's Sakura. We're teammates, huh? A swirl of possibility danced in his mind. He'd train, undertake missions, surpass all expectations. Maybe along the way, he'd learn more about his parents, the Nine Tails, and how to fully meld his Monkey King inheritance with ninja arts. As Naruto left the Hokage Tower, Team 7 trailing behind him, he paused at the top of the broad staircase outside. The sun bathed the village in bright light. He tightened his grip on the Rui Jingu Bang, which was once again shrunk at his side. Old man Wukong, he thought, the world outside your mountain is pretty wild. But I'm ready. He inhaled deeply, savoring the sense of the bustling village. Ahead lay a future rife with challenges and discoveries, alliances and rivalries, ships and perhaps more than friendships. He recalled the flustered reactions from some of the Konoha girls yesterday and couldn't help a small, mischievous smirk. I'll take it all head on, just like you taught me. And with that, Naruto Uzumaki, heir to the Monkey King's power, stepped into his new life as a Konoha shinobi. A final, invisible breeze ruffled his hair, carrying with it the faint echo of Wukong's laughter. As if the immortal trickster was giving him a spirited send-off. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Morning light spilled across the rooftops of Konoha, casting soft shadows that stretched along the village streets. Naruto Uzumaki, newly integrated into Team 7, woke in his little apartment with a lazy grin on his face. This was day one of life as a real ninja, and he was itching to get started. He rolled out of bed, ruffled his already wild hair, then stomped over to the cramped kitchenette for a quick meal. Today would be the official introduction to his new teammates, a proper start to missions. The thought of working in a structured environment felt odd after so many years living with monkeys, but the excitement of something fresh fueled him. Finishing his breakfast, he slung the Rui Jingu Bang, currently shrunk to baton size, across his back and headed into the bustling morning crowds of Konoha. He found Team 7 exactly where Kakashi had told them to meet, a IET training field on the outskirts of the village. The area had open grass, a few trees scattered around, and a small river snaking through. Naruto arrived to see Sakura sitting on a low wooden fence, fiddling with the edges of her pink hair, while Sasuke stood off to the side, arms crossed, eyes narrowed with perpetual disinterest. Neither had noticed him yet. Naruto took a second to observe them. Sasuke looked like he carried a permanent scowl, his dark eyes practically burning holes in the ground. Sakura, in contrast, glanced around anxiously, as though searching for something or someone. Naruto flashed a cheeky grin and approached. Yo, he called out, raising a hand. Sakura startled slightly, turning to him. Oh, you're here, she said, her tone hesitant. Kakashi-sensei's not around yet. Naruto nodded. Guess he's late. Figures. Sasuke eyed the golden staff strapped across Naruto's shoulder. His gaze roamed over Naruto's outfit. Baggy pants, vest partially open, revealing faint scars and a muscular build that contradicted his age. Sasuke's lip twitched, an almost imperceptible hint of annoyance or maybe curiosity. TCH, Sasuke muttered, looking away. Naruto just shrugged. Back on Flower Fruit Mountain. You had to deal with monkeys that would bite first and ask questions later. Sasuke's brand of quiet negativity felt tame in comparison. Still, Naruto sensed friction brewing. Perhaps it was the aura he gave off or Sasuke's own complicated background. Regardless, Naruto found he didn't dislike the dark-haired boy, he just found Sasuke's brooding kind of amusing. Seconds stretched into minutes. Sakura sighed, checking the time again. He said 8 in the morning. Naruto flopped onto the grass, resting his arms behind his head. Might as well make ourselves comfortable. Could be a while. Sasuke scoffed but said nothing, continuing to stand with rigid posture. Sure enough, Kakashi Hatake showed up an hour late, strolling casually along the riverbank. He offered a little wave, eye crinkling in a lazy greeting. Sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way around. Sakura groaned. You're late, sensei. Kakashi didn't look too remorseful. Well, now that I'm here, we can begin. Today, we'll do some basic teamwork exercises, get to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Then we'll move on to real missions. He studied Naruto for a moment. Naruto, you come from unusual circumstances, I hear. I'd like to see how well you mesh with the others. Naruto winked. Don am a people person. Kakashi turned to Sasuke and Sakura. And you, too. I want you to be open to learning from Naruto as well. He's unique. Sasuke just grunted. Sakura nodded quickly, though she snuck glances at Naruto as if she couldn't quite figure him out yet. They started with a few warm-up drills. Tree climbing using chakra, target practice with kunai, basic sparring. Naruto found these tasks almost laughably simple, courtesy of years bounding across rocky cliffs and training with illusions. He scaled the tree trunk in about 2 seconds, hands clasped casually behind his head, staff tucked into his belt. Meanwhile, Sakura and Sasuke had to concentrate on channeling chakra to their feet. Neither of them failing per se, but certainly taking more time to get a firm grip on the bark. Sasuke shot Naruto a cold glare at one point, clearly irked by how effortless it all looked for him. Still, he kept his focus on perfecting his own technique, climbing higher with grit in his eyes. Sakura, for her part, let out a frustrated breath but pressed on. Kakashi looked on with mild amusement, occasionally jotting notes in a little booklet. Soon, the first break arrived. Sakura and Sasuke settled on a grassy patch, gulping water. Naruto leapt onto a branch overhead, letting his legs dangle as he perched lazily. Kakashi strolled over. So, Naruto, we'll do a short spar to see how you coordinate with a teammate. Since you're already advanced, you'll partner with Sakura. Sasuke, you'll fight the both of them and try to hold your own. Sasuke's eyes snapped up. What? Kakashi shrugged, flipping a page in his book. Think of it as practice for dealing with multiple opponents. And I'd like to see if Naruto can actually work as a team, not just charge in alone. Naruto hopped down from the branch and dusted off his pants. Sure thing. Sakura, ready? She blinked rapidly. I guess so. Quote, Sasuke rose, cool confidence in his stance. Don't slow me down, he told them curtly. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. Oh, you're that sure you'll need a handicap. That earned him a fierce glare. Kakashi suppressed a chuckle from behind his mask. Begin. Sasuke charged, weaving through hand seals. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu. A blazing orb of flame rocketed toward Naruto and Sakura. The heatwave singed the grass as it tore forward. Sakura gasped, half forming a seal for a replacement jutsu, but Naruto calmly spun the staff off his shoulder, letting it extend in an arc. With a focusing thought, the staff expanded into a broad circle in front of them, swirling with faint golden energy. The fireball crashed against it, scattering embers to the sides. Sakura's jaw dropped at how easily the staff blocked the jutsu. Sasuke leapt high, flipping behind them. He kicked at Naruto's head, but Naruto twisted around to block with the staff, leaving an opening for Sakura to try a punch. Sasuke, quick as lightning, dodged by pivoting sideways and delivered a sweeping leg to trip her. She yelped, narrowly regaining balance. Naruto pressed forward, staff whipping around in precise movements. Hey, Sakura, he called over his shoulder. If you see an opening, go for it. She swallowed hard. All right. Though uncertain, she threw a few kunai at Sasuke, forcing him to dodge while Naruto threatened him with the staff from another angle. Sasuke found himself momentarily pinned between kunai on one side and Naruto's weapon on the other. But he dropped low, rolling under the staff strike and launching a counterkick that brushed Naruto's torso. Not bad, Naruto admitted, feeling the bruise already forming. You're not slow. Sasuke's lip curled. They continued the three-way dance for a few more exchanges. Ultimately, though, Sasuke faced two opponents. Naruto, who was unbelievably fluid with that staff, and Sakura, who, while not as strong, at least forced him to keep moving. When Sasuke finally overstepped, Naruto capitalized, hooking the staff around Sasuke's ankles. Sasuke tumbled forward, only to meet Sakura's clenched fist. Her punch landed square on his chest, knocking him down. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Sasuke lay on his back, breath knocked out of him, while Sakura stood in shock, realization dawning that she'd actually landed a blow. Naruto lowered the staff, offering Sasuke a hand. "You good?" Sasuke slapped the hand away, pushing himself up. He turned his head aside, vexation in his eyes. "I'm fine." Kakashi ambled over, pockets in his hands. "Nice teamwork. Everyone's alive, so that's a plus." Sakura blinked rapidly, cheeks flushing with a strange mixture of triumph and guilt. "Sorry, Sasuke-kun," she mumbled awkwardly. "I didn't think. I mean, you were about to." He ignored her, focusing inward. It stung, no question. But Naruto had clearly been pulling his punches, or staff strikes, whichever. Sasuke's pride churned. If that was Naruto's real strength, it was a wide gap indeed. After the spar, Kakashi officially assigned them their first missions as genin, mostly mundane chores like helping a local farmer pick tomatoes, walking the Inuzuka clan's dogs, assisting in reorganizing library scrolls. Naruto found the tasks equal parts silly and enlightening. Never in his life had he done anything this trivial. On the mountain, chores meant hauling bamboo or picking fruit for dinner, not cleaning old lady Suzume's attic. But hey, it paid. And it got him more comfortable interacting with normal civilians. He took to it in his own quirky way, sometimes using illusions to finish tasks faster, like creating multiple shadowy duplicates of himself to sort library scrolls or to chase down stray cats. Kakashi watched, occasionally raising an eyebrow but rarely intervening. If anything, Naruto's resourcefulness got the job done quickly. Sakura wrestled with the idea of Naruto's prowess. Part of her felt insecure. He was clearly beyond the standard genin skill level. Yet, at times, he flashed that mischievous grin, teased her about how slow, or nervous, she was, and then turned around to help fix her mistakes with surprising gentleness. Sasuke remained stoic, spurred on by competitiveness. More than once, Naruto caught Sasuke glaring at him from the corner of his eye, as if sizing him up. A few days later, Team 7 gathered at the mission desk in the Hokage Tower. It was a small but cozy room lined with scrolls and papers, where the Hokage or his assistants assigned daily tasks to various genin squads. This particular morning, Naruto bounded in, staff perched across his back, brimming with anticipation. "Tora cat retrieval again?" Naruto asked, scanning the list pinned to the wall. "Come on, old man, can we get something more exciting than that?" Hiruzen, seated behind the desk, gave a patient smile. You've only just been assigned to Team 7, Naruto. Don't be so quick to dismiss the basic missions. They build character." Naruto rolled his eyes dramatically. Sure. Sasuke was leaning against the wall, apparently bored out of his mind. Sakura fiddled with her hands, not particularly thrilled about chasing the feisty cat either. Kakashi stood behind them, reading his little orange book, saying nothing. "But," the Hokage continued, "there is another option. A C-rank mission that requires escorting a bridge builder to the land of waves. It could be a step up, though usually it's still fairly safe." "Up for it." Before anyone else could speak, Naruto gave a thumbs up. "I'll take it." Kakashi tucked his book away, eyes settling on Sasuke and Sakura. "You two are in." Sakura nodded eagerly, relieved at the chance to do something outside the village. Sasuke simply pushed off the wall and said, "Fine." "Very well," the Hokage said. "Bring in Tazuna." A bearded man in worn clothes and a conical hat shuffled into the room. He reeked of cheap sake and wore a disgruntled expression. Sizing up T's skeptical eye. "This is my protection detail. A bunch of kids, and a weirdo with silver hair." Kakashi smiled behind his mask. "Nice to meet you, too." Naruto smirked, stepping forward. "Don't worry, old man, you're safe with us." Chizuna eyed Naruto's staff and shrugged. Well, as long as you keep the bandits off me while I finish my bridge, I guess I can't complain. Thus, Team 7 set out from Konoha early the next day, Chizuna walking in front with a slight wobble in his step, the 4 shinobi trailing him. It was Naruto's first time leaving the Land of Fire's borders as part of an official mission. The open road reminded him of his journey from Flower Fruit Mountain, the sense of possibility around every bend. Sakura tried to make conversation with Chizuna, inquiring about the Land of Waves. Sasuke kept to himself, occasionally scanning the surroundings for threats. Kakashi, as usual, read from his small novel while half paying attention. Naruto whistled a jaunty tune, hands resting behind his head, staff strapped diagonally across his back. Some distance out, the road turned muddy from recent rain, puddles forming in shallow depressions. Naruto's footsteps splashed lightly. He glanced at the trees lining the path. Something felt off. The birds had gone quiet, and there was a tension in the air that he recognized from hunts on the mountain. When predator and prey danced in the undergrowth, suddenly, 2 swirling shapes emerged from a puddle behind them, men in bladed metal gauntlets and matching breathing apparatuses. Their chains whipped out, aiming for Kakashi's torso. Kakashi-sensei! Sakura shrieked. Sasuke spun, flinging kunai. Naruto's instincts flared. Without hesitating, he snapped the staff from his back, letting it grow in a swift motion. Intercepting the chain mid-swing, there was a loud clang, metal scraping against the enchanted staff. The 2 attackers recoiled, eyes narrowing in surprise. Kakashi, meanwhile, vanished in a flicker, reappearing behind the group. No need to shout, Sakura, he said calmly. I'm fine. Naruto didn't wait for further instructions. He rushed the nearest assailant, staff swirling. The attacker tried to wrap his gauntlet chain around the weapon, but Naruto deftly shrank the staff, slipping free, then slammed its tip into the man's stomach. The attacker folded, gasping. Sasuke closed in on the second attacker, launching a flying kick. The enemy blocked, but Sasuke followed with a quick hand seal, shooting a small burst of fire that forced the man back. Naruto pivoted, extended the staff to trip the attacker, and Sasuke seized the opening to land a precise strike to the back of his head. Both assailants collapsed with a groan. You brats! One hissed through clenched teeth. Damn you! Kakashi reappeared, his expression more serious than usual. Good coordination, Naruto. Sasuke, well done. Then he knelt beside the unconscious attackers, removing their gear. These are the demon brothers of the mist. Skilled missing nin from Kurigakure. Sakura paled. Missing nin. Then this isn't just bandits. This mission was supposed to be safe. Chizuna looked away guiltily. I might have glossed over some details. Gato's men control the waterways of our land. He's been trying to stop my bridge project. That's why they're sending hired shinobi after me. Kakashi sighed. So it's more dangerous than a simple C rank. In any case, we continue. But from here on, be vigilant. Sasuke threw an annoyed glance at Chizuna, who avoided eye contact. Naruto merely shrugged. A real challenge, huh? I'm cool with that. He tightened his grip on the staff. The primal rush of an actual fight made his blood sing. He hadn't come to the ninja world to do chores forever. If more opponents lurked ahead, so be it. They pressed on, eventually reaching the shoreline where a small boat waited to ferry them across a fog-laden strait into the Land of Waves proper. The boatman, an old friend of Chizuna, insisted on traveling under cover of night to avoid detection by Gato's patrols. So they drifted through the misty waters, hush all around. At last, they landed on a hidden bank, tall reeds swaying in the breeze. Chizuna led them inland along narrow paths. Naruto peered through the thick fog, muscles coiled. Every step could be an ambush. Sure enough, they soon encountered trouble again. A massive sword whirred through the air, lodging itself into a thick tree trunk. From atop the hilt stood a man with bandaged lower face and sharp eyes. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist. He regarded them with a cold, predatory grin. Hand over the bridge builder. I don't feel like wasting time. Kakashi's posture tensed. Zabuza Momochi. So it's you. This mission just got a lot more complicated. Sasuke felt a rush of alarm. He'd heard the name. Zabuza, an infamous rogue from Kurigakure, known for his silent killing technique. Sakura's heart pounded, and she positioned herself protectively near Tizuna. Naruto, by contrast, grinned, a thrill coursing through him. He's strong, right? Kakashi nodded. Extremely. Stay focused. This is no joke. Zabuza jumped down, hefting his sword with one hand. So the copy ninja Kakashi is babysitting children. How quaint. But I have no interest in them. Give me the old man, and I'll let you walk away. Naruto snorted, as if Zabuza's gaze flicked to him. Bold. I'll remember your face, brat. A chilling mist unfurled, courtesy of Zabuza's water-style jutsu. In seconds, visibility plummeted. Kakashi pulled up his headband, revealing the Sharingan eye beneath. Sasuke stiffened. He hadn't seen Kakashi's Sharingan in use yet. Naruto peered through the haze, tapping into the faint swirl of golden chakra he'd learned to sense from Wukong's training. He could almost smell Zabuza's killing intent. With silent efficiency, Zabuza attacked. Kakashi countered, leading him away from Tizuna. Their clash of steel and swirling chakra raged across the mist-shrouded clearing. Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto formed a tight circle around Tizuna, scanning for any sign that Zabuza might slip past Kakashi. In a flash, water clones sprang up around them, each brandishing lethal intent. Sasuke went on the offensive, kunai flashing. Naruto grabbed his staff, letting it stretch to knock two clones back in a single swipe. One burst into water, splashing across the mud. Another clone targeted Sakura, who fended it off with surprising composure, though she looked frightened. Kakashi's voice echoed from within the mist. Don't let your guard down. Naruto's eyes narrowed. He sensed Zabuza's real presence flicker to the left, where Kakashi was exchanging jutsu. In that moment, a swirl of water erupted beneath Kakashi, ensnaring him in a watery prison. Zabuza's voice hissed through the haze. Got you now, copy ninja. Kakashi grimaced, half submerged. Team 7, protect Tizuna. Don't come near me unless you can break this jutsu safely. Zabuza formed another water clone that stalked toward Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Its wicked grin mirrored Zabuza's chilling aura. Time to die, brats. Sasuke swallowed, adrenaline spiking. He leapt forward, hurling shuriken. The water clone dodged or absorbed them. Sakura brandished a kunai, trembling slightly but ready to strike if it got close. Tizuna cowered behind them, cursing under his breath for not being upfront about the danger. Naruto took a breath, recalling Wukong's advice, be unpredictable. Don't let them read you. He shaped a hand seal, summoning 3 shadowy duplicates, each clone readied a staff. The water clone advanced, slashing through one duplicate only to find its watery prison empty again. The staff illusions had swapped places. What? The clone snarled, momentarily confused. In that split second, the real Naruto extended his staff from behind, skewering the clone's midsection. Water splashed, the clone disintegrating into droplets. But Ashi captive, Sasuke tensed. We have to free Kakashi-sensei. Naruto nodded. He dashed toward Zabuza, staff at the ready. The rogue swordsman flicked a contemptuous glance at him. Foolish. Zabuza's hand tightened on the watery prison, shifting the water's shape around Kakashi's torso. Kakashi grit his teeth, pinned. Naruto, be careful, he managed to say. Naruto sprinted in a low arc, weaving illusions around himself. At first, it seemed as if multiple Narutos branched out, each brandishing the staff from different angles. Zabuza's eyes narrowed, trying to identify the real threat. Sasuke seized the shonk, a charge from the opposite side with kunai in hand, forcing Zabuza to split his attention. I told you, kids, Zabuza snarled, this is out of your league. With his free arm, he swung the giant sword. Sasuke narrowly avoided decapitation, rolling on the ground with a grunt. Naruto vaulted above the blade, staff humming with golden energy. He aimed for the arm that maintained the water prison. Zabuza's sword arm whirled back inhumanly fast. Naruto had to block with the staff, shockwaves rattling his arms. The sheer impact was unlike anything he'd felt before. Zabuza had monstrous strength. Naruto clenched his teeth, calling upon more of the monkey's chi. A faint aura of gold flickered around him. For a heartbeat, they locked weapons. Zabuza's eyes widened at the unusual energy swirling along the staff. What is this chakra? Naruto's grin was fierce. Catch this. With a thought, he let the staff elongate and twist in a spiral motion, slipping free of Zabuza's sword and striking at the hand controlling the water prison. Zabuza's grip faltered. Kakashi burst free, gasping for air as water splashed around him. Kakashi wasted no time. With lightning reflexes, he performed a flurry of hand seals, matching Zabuza's water style and countering with a surge of his own. The two jutsu collided, sending waves crashing. Sasuke pulled Tazuna and Sakura farther back from the swirling vortex. The intensity of the fight peaked. Kakashi and Zabuza became blurs, each reading the other's next move, each stealing advantage for a few precious seconds. Naruto found himself enthralled by Kakashi's skill, but he also recognized the lethal game being played. He readied himself to jump in if needed. Suddenly, the fight ended with Kakashi's kunai at Zabuza's throat, except a volley of Senbon needles whistled out of nowhere, peppering Zabuza's neck. The robe's eyes rolled back as he toppled, apparently dead. Standing on a branch above was a masked figure in a hunter nin mask from Kuritaker. "Thank you for weakening him," the masked ninja said politely. "I've been tracking Zabuza for a while. I'll dispose of him now." Without waiting for a response, the hunter nin collected Zabuza's limp body and vanished into the mist. Kakashi exhaled. Strange. That felt too convenient. He turned to Team 7. Still, for now, it seems the threat is gone. Chizuna let out a shaky breath. I can't believe you actually beat him." Sasuke rested hands on his knees, panting slightly. "We had help." He glanced sideways at Naruto, remembering how he'd freed Kakashi. A grudging respect glinted in Sasuke's eyes, though he quickly masked it. Naruto casually spun his staff, trying to look nonchalant despite his racing heart. "Could have done it on my own," he joked, though part of him knew Zabuza was a whole different level than the demon brothers. Kakashi chuckled but then staggered. "We'll discuss this after we rest. That jutsu took a lot out of me." He sank to one knee, exhausted. Naruto and Sasuke hurried to help steady him. They continued to Tazuna's home, a modest house near the construction site of the half-finished bridge. Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami, welcomed them gratefully, ring a meal and offering them runes to rest. It was cramped, and the tension hadn't fully lifted. Naruto sensed that no one quite believed Zabuza was actually gone. After dinner, Kakashi addressed the group. "I suspect Zabuza's alive. That hunter nin moved too quickly, and Senbon to the neck can simulate death if placed precisely. Likely, he's in hiding, recovering. We need to stay alert." Sakura's face paled. "Then he'll come back, won't he?" "Most likely," Kakashi said. "We have about a week, maybe less, before he's ready to fight again. That means we must train and prepare ourselves. Chizuna still needs to finish the bridge." Sasuke stiffened his jaw. "We'll be ready." Kakashi turned to Naruto with a thoughtful look. "Naruto, your illusions and that strange chakra technique were impressive. But you may need more typical shinobi skills to adapt to an opponent like Zabuza." "We'll work on that." Naruto nodded, though inwardly he bristled. He had his own style. Why bother with standard jutsu? But he kept his mouth shut, recalling Wukong's words. "Sometimes you learn a new trick so you can break the rules even better." The days that followed were a whirlwind of training. Kakashi had Sasuke and Naruto practice water walking, an exercise that tested their refined chakra control. Sakura, already adept at controlling chakra in simpler tasks, managed to adapt quickly on calmer water. Sasuke and Naruto had to work with raging currents near the partly built bridge, which made it tougher. At first, Naruto kept slipping and plunging into the icy water. He cursed, staff clattering on the concrete base. Sasuke, equally drenched, snorted at Naruto's predicament. "You're strong, but your chakra control's sloppy." Naruto shot him a grin that hinted at challenge. "Worried I'll outdo you anyway." Sasuke glared back, but deep down, he felt the push to surpass Naruto. They resumed practice, determined to master the skill. Over on the banks, Sakura practiced her own exercises, Samati. Mise glancing up to see if Naruto or Sasuke needed help. She recognized the rivalry brewing between them, unsure how to diffuse it. During breaks, Naruto found himself wandering the small village near Tazuna's home. Dull eyes stared back at him from impoverished locals, Gato's stranglehold on the economy had choked the land, leaving it bleak and hopeless. He felt a surge of empathy, recalling his tea on the mountain where resources were shared freely among the monkey clan. That sense of communal unity seemed absent here. On one afternoon, while Sasuke continued water walking, Naruto decided to explore further. He meandered down a narrow path behind Tazuna's house, staff tucked away. The crisp air carried the scent of brine and damp wood. Rounding a corner, he nearly collided with a young woman carrying a basket of herbs. She yelped in surprise, stumbling. Naruto caught her by the elbow to steady her. "Whoa, sorry," the woman exhaled, relieved. "No, I should have been watching where I was going." She peered at Naruto with curious eyes. "You must be the new ninja protecting Tazuna-san." Naruto grinned. "Yep, I'm Naruto. Who are you?" She introduced herself as Mai, a local herbalist who sometimes treated injuries around the village. She was older than Naruto by a few years, maybe 16 or 17, but the moment Naruto flashed that confident smile, she seemed intrigued. He couldn't help noticing she was quite pretty. Dark hair framing gentle features. They talked a bit, Mai explaining how difficult life had become under Gato's oppression. Naruto expressed genuine concern. Icing that once Tazuna's bridge was finished, maybe trade routes would open, and the land could breathe again. As the conversation lingered, Naruto's natural flirtation bubbled up. "You know, you're easy on the eyes," he remarked, leaning against a wooden post. "Makes me think I should visit this village more often." Mai blushed, hiding her smile behind the basket of herbs. "You're quite direct, Naruto-kun." He chuckled, stepping a bit closer. Though naive about many human cusnet confidence from Wukong, and a certain playful boldness. "Life's short, right?" She nodded timidly, glancing around to ensure no one was watching. Then she went on her tiptoes, pressing a brief kiss to his cheek. "Thank you for caring about our people," she whispered, cheeks blazing. Naruto blinked, pleasantly surprised. With a mischievous grin, he leaned in and returned a quick kiss to her forehead, causing her to squeak softly. If Tsunami or the rest of Team 7 saw them, it would certainly cause a stir. But in this quiet moment, Naruto felt a rush of warmth. He'd barely spent a week in the land of waves, yet forging connections this way came to him as naturally as breathing. The monkeys had taught him to be unashamed of genuine affection, and that stayed with him. Mai hurried off with a shy wave, leaving Naruto in a buoyant mood. "Gonna have to tell the old monkey about this if I ever see him again," Naruto thought. Heading back to the bridge site. As predicted, a week later, Zabuza returned, this time accompanied by the masked hunter Nin who introduced themselves as Haku. A fierce battle ignited on the partly finished bridge. Kakashi and Zabuza clashed again, water and wind swirling in deadly arcs. Meanwhile, Haku faced Naruto and Sasuke on the newly laid planks. Haku's voice was soft, apologetic even. "I don't want to kill you, but I must protect Zabuza-san." Sasuke prepared a fire jutsu, adrenaline surging. Naruto brandished his staff, illusions flickering around him. "I get it," Naruto said. "But we can't let you kill Tazuna either." Haku formed a single seal, unleashing crystal ice mirrors. Sheets of reflective ice sprang up in a dome, encasing Naruto, Sasuke, and Haku in a shimmering prison. The reflection of Naruto's wide-eyed face repeated infinitely across the mirrors. Sasuke cursed, flinging a hail of shuriken, which Haku slipped between as though dancing on air. Naruto tried illusions, but Haku's speed within the mirrors outpaced them. The masked ninja pelted them with Senbon, forcing Sasuke and Naruto to guard. Sasuke grimaced, blood trickling from a needle that grazed his cheek. Naruto's staff blocked a barrage of Senbon, but a few found gaps, stinging his forearms. "Damn, they're fast," Naruto muttered, ignoring the pain. He wondered if unleashing the raw power from the nine tails or from Wukong's golden chi would break the mirrors. But will that risk injuring Sasuke? Sasuke, trembling slightly with anger, felt his Sharingan stirring. He'd only partially awakened it before, but now, under life or death pressure, the tomo in his eyes started spinning, letting him track Haku's movements more clearly. He lunged, intercepting Haku mid-dash with a kunai strike. Haku twisted away, but not unscathed. A rip forming in the robe. Naruto seized that opening, Good job, Sasuke. Golden chakra flared around his staff. He extended it toward one of the ice mirrors, channeling a burst of shape-shifting energy. The mirror cracked, but didn't fully shatter. Haku pressed a counterattack, unleashing more Senbon. Sasuke knocked some aside, but one lodged in his shoulder. He hissed in pain, dropping to a knee. Something in Naruto snapped. He let out a raw, feral growl. A swirl of red chakra, tinged with the Nine Tails presence, merged with the golden aura. Haku's eyes widened behind the mask, sensing the massive spike in energy. The staff glowed fiercely, and Naruto slammed it into the ground, sending a shockwave that shattered several mirrors. Ice shards rained down, glinting like deadly snowflakes. You've cornered the wrong guy, Naruto snarled, voice layered with a guttural edge. This staff's power isn't the only thing I've got. And nobody hurts my team. Haku, spurred by desperation, rushed to finish Sasuke. Needles flew, aimed at critical points. Naruto lunged, staff whirling, batting away the Senbon in a flurry of metallic clinks. He closed the distance and cracked the staff against Haku's mask, fracturing it. Haku tumbled back, mask splintering off, revealing a delicate face and sorrowful eyes. Those eyes met Naruto's with a quiet plea. I'm sorry, Haku whispered. Zabuza. He means everything to me. Naruto hesitated, staff raised. He remembered the words of Sun Wukong about loyalty, about how each creature had its reasons. Could he be ing himself to strike down someone whose eyes shone with such regret? But Haku took the choice away. The masked ninja sprang forward, arms spread, trying to force Naruto's hand in a final clash. Sasuke, adrenaline blazing, intercepted with a final burst of speed, driving a kunai into Haku's side. Blood stained Haku's garments, and the masked ninja fell to one knee, breath ragged. Naruto caught Haku's arm, lowering them gently. Why? Haku murmured, tears slipping free. I only wanted to protect someone precious. Sasuke looked away, chest heaving. Naruto clenched his jaw, torn between sympathy and the grim reality of battle. Your precious person isn't worth throwing your own life away, he said quietly. Haku's eyes fluttered. If they can live on, I'll do anything. Then the masked ninja's gaze drifted to where Kakashi and Zabuza were locked in a lethal dance. Zabuza needs me. With a final resolve, Haku shook free of Naruto's hold, staggering toward the melee. Zabuza was pinned under Kakashi's lightning-charged strike, the famous Chidori. Right as Kakashi thrust forward, Haku interposed their own body, taking the blow meant for Zabuza. Sparks erupted, blood sprayed, and Haku's life ebbed away in an instant. Naruto stood frozen, Sasuke's expression twisted with shock, a complexity of emotions swirling behind his eyes. Kakashi pulled back, breathing heavily, while Zabuza read at Haku's lifeless form clutched in his arms. The hush that followed was deafening. Zabuza's face hardened. Haku, you fool. His voice cracked, almost imperceptibly. Kakashi grimaced, stepping back. It's over, Zabuza. You can't continue. Zabuza glanced around, noticing Gato and a small army of thugs arriving on the bridge. Gato sneered at Zabuza, revealing he'd planned to betray the rogue ninja all along. I'll just finish you off once you're weak, and keep my money. Men, kill them all. Zabuza let out a chilling laugh, blood dribbling down his chin. So that's how it is. Fine. He gently laid Haku's body down, picking up his massive sword. Without hesitation, he charged at Gato's men, carving a path of carnage despite his own mortal wounds. Gato tried to flee, but Zabuza cut him down in a final, desperate act of vengeance. Then Zabuza collapsed beside Haku, the two bound in a tragic circle. Silence enveloped the bridge. Naruto stared at the fallen pair, chest tight. He felt a profound pang, an echo of sorrow for enemies who'd had their own twisted bond. Sasuke, nursing injuries, simply stared. Sakura guided Tazuna to safety. Kakashi, stoic, quietly commended Zabuza's final stand. In the end, the shinobi world was often painted in blood and regrets. With Gato gone, his hired thugs scattered. The people of the Land of Waves, emboldened by Tazuna's nearing completion of the bridge, chased off the remnants. As the sun broke through the mist, the bridge stood a symbol of hope, and a testament to the harsh battle just fought. Dash 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 dash. Over the next few days, Tazuna put the finishing touches on his bridge. Villagers came from all around to celebrate, newly freed from Gado's oppression. Team 7 recovered from their wounds. Sakura patched up Sasuke. Naruto, though physically fine, struggled to shake a somber feeling about Haku's death and the cost of protecting precious people. In that swirl of mixed emotions, Naruto found solace in small gestures. Tsunami and Mai, the ballast he'd met earlier, showered him with gratitude. Mai approached him one evening, near the water's edge where Naruto sat, staring out at the half-built structure. His shoulder. He exhaled, swirling a pebble in his hand. I guess I learned that not all enemies are evil. Haku was just protecting someone they cared about, just like I'm here protecting Tazuna. It makes me wonder how many people in the world are forced down a path they never wanted. Mai's eyes shone with empathy. You have a good heart. The fact that you see the tragedy in it means you value life. That's something precious, especially for a ninja. Naruto glanced at her, offering a sad half-smile. Yeah, then his gaze flicked to the swirl of water lapping at the shore. Anyway, the mission's almost done. We'll head back soon. She chewed her lip, and before Naruto realized it, she leaned in for a deeper kiss. This time it wasn't just a shy peck. Her lips brushed his with real gratitude and perhaps yearning for hope. Naruto blinked, warmth flooding his face, yet he didn't pull away. He let the moment linger, the quiet hush of the evening wrapping them like a cocoon. When Mai finally pulled back, her cheeks were flushed. Thank you for everything. You gave us freedom. Naruto grinned softly, heart still pounding. Anytime. Dash 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 dash. 2 days later, the bridge stood tall and proud, ready to serve as a beacon of prosperity for the land of waves. Team 7 prepared to depart. Tazuna thanked them profusely, tears in his old eyes. Tsunami bowed, her own expression filled with admiration. The villagers gathered, offering small gifts of fruit, flowers, and heartfelt words. Naruto scanned the crowd, spotting Mai near the back. She lifted a hand in farewell. He waved back, a playful wink that made her flush. He felt a small twinge of disappointment that their time was so short, but a traveling ninja's life rarely allowed for leisurely romances. Still, a part of him reveled in the memory. Sasuke watched the whole exchange with a faint smirk, as if he couldn't fathom how Naruto flirted so shamelessly. Sakura stood near Kakashi, also eyeing Naruto's interactions with mild confusion. She hadn't expected him to be so charismatic. Maybe, she thought, that carefree exterior was a shield for deeper feelings. Finally, they set foot on the bridge, crossing back toward the mainland. Tazuna called out, "Hey, we need a name for this bridge." Any suggestions? Kakashi shrugged. Sakura and Sasuke exchanged glances. Naruto turned, brandishing that signature grin, staff slung across his shoulders. Name it, the Great Naruto Bridge, he declared boldly. Half joking. Tazuna scratched his chin, then a big laugh rumbled out of him. You know what, that has a nice ring to it. Fine, the Great Naruto Bridge it is. Sakura sputtered a laugh. Sasuke rolled his eyes, while Kakashi said nothing, though Naruto thought he saw a grin hidden beneath that mask. The villagers cheered, the name sticking like fresh mortar. Dash 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 dash. As the misty shoreline faded behind them, Naruto's thoughts drifted. So much had happened in such a short span. Life and death battles, moral dilemmas, fleeting romance. He carried it all, determined to learn from it rather than let it drag him down. Once more, they walked the winding roads of the land of fire. This time, the group's dynamic felt changed. Sasuke occasionally exchanged words with Naruto, short phrases, but more than mere grunts. Sakura smiled at Naruto in a gentler way. Not quite the same starry-eyed look she reserved for Sasuke, but maybe a seed of camaraderie. Kakashi read his book or hummed quietly, satisfied that the mission concluded successfully, if painfully. At one point, Naruto asked, "Hey, Kakashi-sensei, how do you learn that lightning move?" Referencing the Chidori, Kakashi just gave a cryptic chuckle. "Maybe I'll teach you someday if you behave." Count me in, Naruto said, unbothered by the tease. "I'm always up for something new." Sasuke overheard, glancing at Kakashi with interest. Clearly, he too wanted to learn that technique. The seeds of rivalry and mentorship alike were in the air. Dash 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 dash. They reached Konoha by sunset, the familiar gates opening to welcome them. Once inside, the team reported to the Hokage's office for a debrief. Hiruzen listened gravely to the story of Zabuza and Haku, commending them on a job well done despite the mission's unexpected escalation in rank. Your teamwork under duress was commendable, the Hokage said. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, you protected Tazuna and helped free an entire country from a tyrant. That's no small feat. Sakura offered a small bow. Sasuke huffed, but there was a subtle pride in his posture. Naruto shrugged. It was interesting. After the meeting, Naruto lagged behind as his teammates left. Hiruzen raised an inquisitive eyebrow. Something on your mind? Naruto fiddled with the staff, letting it expand an inch, then shrink again. Yeah, I just keep thinking about Haku. And about what it means to be a ninja. You guys sure do a lot of killing. Hiruzen set aside his pipe, his expression softening. It's true. The shinobi world is not gentle. But it also has room for compassion and friendship, as you've seen. One doesn't have to become heartless. Naruto nodded slowly, recalling that final moment when Haku gave their life for Zabuza. The Monkey King had taught him a lot about freedom and loyalty. Maybe that's the lesson here. Ninja bonds could be both uplifting and painful. But they were real, and Naruto knew he'd protect his own precious people, no matter what. Thanks, old man, Naruto said, voice quiet but resolute. Hiruzen smiled. Go rest, Naruto. You've earned it. Dash 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 dash. That evening, Naruto wandered through the village, feeling a sense of home he never quite anticipated. The streets were lit with lanterns, bustling with people finishing daily errands. In an impulsive move, Naruto veered into the marketplace, scanning for a familiar face among the crowd. Ino's flower shop, he muttered, recalling a blonde girl who'd stared at him after his spar with the Chunin. He turned a corner to see a small storefront with vibrant blooms displayed out front. Through the window, he spotted Ino Yamanaka arranging bouquets. A playful grin touched his lips as he strolled inside. The bell above the door chimed. Ino glanced up, green-blue eyes widening slightly. Oh, Naruto, right. Team 7, he nodded, leaning casually against the counter. The one and only. Heard this place had the best flowers in Konoha. Thought I'd see if that was true. Ino arched a brow, half smiling. You're not here to buy something for a special someone, are you? She folded her arms, clearly teasing. Naruto smirked. Maybe I am. Or maybe I just wanted to see a pretty face. She blinked, cheeks warming, though she kept her composure. Bold. Did you pick that line up from a scroll or something? Hey, I'm just speaking truth, he said, winking. What's your name again? Ino Yamanaka. My family runs this shop. She cocked her head. I saw you during that spar the other day. Heard you're pretty talented with illusions and that weird staff. It's not weird, he shot back, feigning offense. It's a legendary staff from, let's just say an ancient monkey. I can show you some moves sometime if you're interested. Ino tapped her chin thoughtfully. Might be fun to see how good you actually are. Besides, I'm always up for sparring with interesting people, especially if they're cute. Naruto's eyebrows rose, a playful glint in his eye. So you think I'm cute, Ino blushed. King up a nearby blossom to hide her face. Don't push your luck, he chuckled. Fair enough, but let's train sometime. You handle illusions too, right? You're a Yamanaka, so you do mind-related jutsu. She nodded, intrigued. Yes, I can do mind transfer, though it's tricky in combat. We should see how your illusions hold up against mental infiltration. Deal. He leaned in slightly, brimming with that confident swagger. You can. Ino's pulse quickened, but she maintained her composure, slipping him a small purple flower. Take this, then, a gift from the Yamanaka shop to an intriguing new friend. He took the flower, twirling it between his fingers. Thanks, he said, sincerity seeping into his voice. I'll come by soon. As Naruto left, he felt that familiar rush of excitement. Socializing was almost a new battleground. In a sense, one he found he enjoyed. The day had been heavy, weighed by the memories of Land of Waves. This flirtatious banter with Ino lightened his spirits, reminding him of the playful freedom he once cherished on Flower Fruit Mountain. Dash 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 dash. Night fell completely, stars glittering over the leaf village. Naruto strolled back to his apartment, staff riding across his shoulder, flower in hand. He reflected on the mission's lessons, Haku's sacrifice, Zabuza's grim end, and the blossoming of new friendships and rivalries here in Konoha. His life was shaping up to be more complex than any monkey shenanigans he'd known before, but he welcomed it. In the silent corridor, he slipped into his apartment. The space still felt sparse, but it was his. Leaning the Rui Jingu bang against a corner, he fell onto his bed, the purple flower resting on the small nightstand. A faint grin played on his lips. Harem, maybe. The old monkey told me life's short, why not make the most of it? He gazed at the ceiling, letting the swirling lights of the street seep through the window. Tomorrow would bring more training, more missions, and the promise of the looming Chunin exams. He felt that in the air, a sense of challenge, competition, and the chance to prove himself yet again. Closing his eyes, Naruto conjured the memory of Sun Wukong's boisterous laughter. Guess I'm making waves, old man. Don't worry, I won't let you down. A soft breeze wafted through the window, gently rustling the flower. Sleep claimed Naruto, dreams flickering between images of swirling staff strikes, the tearful face of Haku, and the laughter of new friends. Somewhere in the recesses of his mind, the nine tails stirred, but even the malicious presence felt subdued beneath the bright, confident spirit that Naruto carried. He had arrived in this world of shinobi like a gust of mountain wind, wild, golden, untamed. And no matter what lay ahead, he'd face it all with the grin of a trickster. God's air in the heart of a boy who knew the value of freedom, friendship, and power well used. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. The week following Team 7's return from the land of waves zipped by in a flurry of tasks, training sessions, and rumors swirling around the next big thing, the Chunin exams. Naruto Uzumaki felt as if the entire village buzzed with anticipation. Posters announcing the exam arrival dotted the bulletin boards. Talk of foreign shinobi arriving to test their mettle filled every corner. In true Konoha fashion, an undercurrent of tense excitement ran through the streets. Naruto, of course, dove straight into the excitement. The moment Kakashi mentioned that genin teams could register to participate, Naruto declared with blazing confidence, I'm in. Sasuke, ever the rival, simply nodded, a fierce gleam in his eyes. Sakura, uncertain at first, decided to follow suit, determined not to be left behind. But before the trio could even step foot into the registration hall, Naruto had an interesting few days, events that would further shape his legend as the Monkey King's heir. Dash 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 dash. Word of Naruto's spectacular abilities and rumored background training with a mythy sea entity had spread among the rookie genin. Some were skeptical. How could a kid raised by monkeys possibly be so formidable? Others were intrigued. One such person was Tenten, a weapons specialist from Team Guy. She'd heard of his so-called magic staff from Lee, who'd overheard it from other shinobi gossip. Naruto first ran into Tenten at one of the village's open training fields. She was pracked, icing with an impressive arsenal of scrolls, summoning weapons mid-air and striking at wooden targets with deadly precision. Metal glinted each time a kunai or sword whirled from her grasp. Whoa, Naruto commented from the sidelines, staff resting on his shoulder. Not bad. Tenten halted, turning to see the bright-haired boy with whisker marks on his cheeks. She raised a brow. You're Naruto, right? Heard about your, fancy staff. He patted the Rui Jingu bang, currently sized like a short baton. Fancy doesn't do it justice, he teased. It's legendary. Wanna see? She shot him a competitive smile. Legendary. Huh, let's test that. Naruto smirked. Always game for a little spar. They squared off. Tenten came in with a flurry of shuriken and a short blade from one of her scrolls. Naruto, relying on footwork reminiscent of the monkey warriors, dodged gracefully. In a single fluid motion, he extended the staff to knock the blade aside, then shrank it back to parry her follow-up slash. Tenten's eyes sparkled. That staff changes size. That's insane. It's called the Rui Jingu Bang, Naruto explained mid-parry. Does more than that if I really let it loose. That's some weapon, she murmured. I specialize in ninja tools, but I've never seen anything like it. With renewed enthusiasm, Tenten launched a chain of attacks. However, Naruto's agility, hung from years scaling cliffs with monkeys, let him slip past each strike. She tried summoning a broadsword to surprise him, but he blocked with the staff's tip, then spun behind her to deliver a light tap on the shoulder, indicating a decisive blow. Tenten froze, breathing hard, face flushed from exertion. Okay, I stand corrected. Despite her defeat, admiration lit her gaze. You really are something else. Naruto offered her a lopsided grin. You're not too shabby yourself. Pretty sure if you had more time, you'd put me through the ringer with all those weapons. She laughed, brushing a strand of dark hair aside. Maybe next time. Though the spar ended, the spark lingered. Naruto's playful charm kicked in. He complimented her technique, asked about her interest in weapons. Tenten, normally level-headed, found herself surprisingly drawn to his easy confidence. As they parted ways, she planted a quick, mischievous peck on his cheek. For showing me something new, she said, leaving Naruto wide-eyed. He overed quickly enough to shoot her a wink. Anytime, might just have more to show you later. She rolled her eyes with a friendly scoff, but she couldn't quite hide her smile as she walked away. Dash 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 dash. Day. When the day to register for the Chunin exams arrived, the academy bustled like a festival. Dozens of genin squads milled around. Team 8 with Hinata, Kiba, and Shino. Team 10 with Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. Plus various teams from other hidden villages. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura reached the second floor, only to find a group of older genin blocking the door with a sign reading, Chunin exam registration. But something felt off. A pair of intimidating ninjas scolded newcomers, telling them they weren't strong enough. Sasuke saw through the ruse, a genjutsu trick to make them think EY were on the third floor when it was really only the second. Naruto picked it up too, laughing at the silly deception. Sakura dispelled the illusion, revealing the real corridor. The two fake guards smirked, apparently testing the rookie's intelligence. Before any conflict escalated, Rock Lee, a bowl-cut youth from Team Guy, stepped in, praising Sakura for her keen eye, then boldly challenging Sasuke to a quick scuffle. Naruto watched with a grin as Lee's speed caught Sasuke off guard, nearly besting him. Lee, brimming with exuberance, declared he wanted to prove himself the strongest genin. As Sasuke scowled, Naruto hopped in. Yo, bushy brow, he said to Lee, I want a piece of that action too someday. Lee gave him a mouthful energy. It would be my pleasure, Naruto-kun. I admire your brave spirit. Their rivalry set, Naruto's group headed up to the real third floor. The hall outside the exam hall thrummed with tension. Gaara of the Sand Village stood with his siblings, Temari and Kankuro. Gaara's cold eyes flicked across Naruto for a moment, as if sensing something unusual. Naruto felt a strange prickle at Gaara's presence, something lonely and fierce, not unlike the beast inside himself. Who's that? Naruto whispered to Sakura. Gaara of the desert, I hear, she replied. They say he's, well, dangerous. Naruto simply shrugged, a corner of his mouth lifting. Dangerous, so am I. Inside the registration hall, Ibiki Morino, a scarred, intimidating proctor, gave the assembled genin a once-over. The first phase of the exam, it turned out, was a written test designed to measure intelligence and stealth in information gathering. A collective groan rose among certain participants, but Naruto was too excited to complain. Dash 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 dash. First exam. Written test. Teams took their seats in a large classroom. Ibiki's rules were strict. No cheating, or you'd be disqualified along with your teammates. The catch, though, was that the test questions were nearly impossible for typical genin to solve without cheating in some clever ninja way. Naruto eyed the cryptic questions. This is definitely beyond normal math or reading comprehension. They want us to gather intel. Around the room, cunning ninjas deployed small mirrors, miniature listening devices, insects in Shino's case or well-trained illusions. Naruto, for his part, smirked. I've got illusions of my own. He formed a subtle hand seal beneath the desk. generating a near-invisible clone that crawled along the floor, disguised from the proctor's sharp gazes. The clone peered at answers from other test-takers, particularly the more academically gifted ones like Sakura, and relayed them back to Naruto's mind. While some genin were caught and expelled, Naruto's illusions remained a step ahead of detection. Sasuke used his newly developed Sharingan to copy the hand movements of a genius test-taker. Sakura, ironically enough, didn't need to cheat. She could handle the material. The tension was palpable, each mistake risking a swift dismissal by Ibiki's watchers. Eventually, Ibiki introduced the final question, an ultimatum. Those who answered incorrectly would lose the chance ever to become a Chunin. Fear rippled through the room. Some participants bailed, unwilling to take the risk. Naruto, remembering Wukong's defiance, refused to back down. He stood, slammed a hand on the desk, and proclaimed, "I never quit, no matter how impossible it seems." Quote, Ibiki's expression shifted subtly, approval beneath his stern gaze. The final question was, in truth, a ruse to weed out the faint-hearted. Naruto's boldness helped secure Team 7's passage. Cheers erupted among those who remained, and the first exam concluded. In the aftermath, as everyone filed out, Naruto noticed Ino cornering him with a grin. "Nice job, monkey boy," she teased, tapping his forehead protector. "You looked confident even though I know you're not the studious type." Naruto brushed off the jibe with a wink. "Confidence is half the battle, right? Glad you and your team passed too." Ino tossed her hair. "Of course, Team 10 never fails." Then her gaze flicked slyly around the corridor. "Let's celebrate not flunking. Maybe meet up tonight." He cocked his head, delighted at the invitation. "You asking me on a date, Ino?" She huffed, crossing her arms to hide a faint blush. "Don't get the wrong idea. Just, maybe we can talk about illusions, or strategy, or something." Naruto laughed. "Yeah, sure, strategy. Count me in." He didn't miss the small smile tugging at her lips as she walked away, hips swaying in a subtle flourish. This place is fun, he thought. He'd grown used to friendly contact among monkeys, so human closeness, especially flirtation, felt downright addictive. Forest of Death. No time for relaxation, though. The second exam commenced immediately the next day, proctored by the wild and unorthodox Anko Mitarashi. She led the genin to a massive fenced-off woodland known as the Forest of Death. Each team eyed the scroll, either Earth or Heaven, and had to survive the forest's lethal environment while seeking to acquire the matching scroll from another team. The gates creaked open. Anko's voice boomed. "You've got 5 days to secure both scrolls and make it to the tower in the center. Try not to die." Team 7, standing at their assigned gate, looked around tensely. Sasuke exhaled. "We need to watch out for ambushes. This is a free-for-all." Naruto's stomach fluttered with excitement. Free-for-all. Sounds like home. Living among primal monkeys had prepared him for the chaos of nature's battlefield. They stepped inside, dense foliage swallowing them, the gate clanging shut behind. It didn't take long for trouble to find them. Within an hour, they encountered a rival genin squad from the Rain Village. Kunai whistled through the underbrush, forcing Team 7 to split. Naruto flipped onto a branch, staff at the ready, while Sasuke slashed aside an oncoming attack. Sakura launched a volley of shuriken to pin the enemies down. Naruto's illusions proved deadly in the thick forest. One Rain Nin found himself flailing at empty air while the real Naruto emerged behind him, staff extended. A hard crack sent the assailant crashing into a muddy patch. In mere minutes, Team 7 overwhelmed the Rain squad, seizing their scroll. "Check it, do we have a match?" Naruto asked. Sasuke's face fell. "It's another Heaven scroll. No use. We need Earth." They stashed the extra scroll and pressed deeper into the forest. Huge centipedes crawled across tree trunks. Monstrous leeches lurked in swampy corners. The swirling smell of decaying leaves and damp bark reminded Naruto of his old home, yet far more foreboding. A sudden gust of wind whipped the treetops. Naruto felt the hair on the back of his neck prickle. Something powerful. Nearby. He wasn't wrong. In a clearing up ahead, they stumbled upon a horrifying scene, a pile of unconscious genin from the grass village, battered and left for dead. Hove. Ring over them was a kunoichi with unnaturally long limbs, wearing a grass headband. Her face twisted in an eerie grin that made Sakura shiver. The kunoichi's gaze flicked to Team 7. Oh, more prey, she purred. Her tongue lolled out in a grotesque way that made Naruto's stomach churn. Sasuke's eyes narrowed, the Sharingan activating in alarm. Who are you? The kunoichi snickered. You can call me Shior, but I doubt names matter. Suddenly, a wave of killing intent flooded the clearing. Sakura froze in terror. Even Naruto felt a chill, recalling the presence of the Celestials that once ambushed him on the mountain. This was different, colder, crueler. Orochimaru. Kakashi had once muttered the name in Naruto's hearing, describing a legendary Sannin gone rogue. Is that him? The disguised figure struck without warning, her body morphing in a contorted way. Sasuke flung kunai, but the woman slipped around them like a phantom. Naruto darted forward, staff spinning, illusions warping the air. For a moment, it seemed he had the advantage, until Shior's neck elongated freakishly to snap at Naruto from behind, forcing him to leap away. You have interesting chakra, the imposter hissed, golden eyes gleaming. And that staff, I can taste its power. Naruto's lip curled in distaste. You talk too much, lady. Flinging illusions at her, he aimed to distract while Sasuke rushed in. But Orochimaru, masquerading as this grass kunoichi, proved nightmarishly skilled. She parried Sasuke's strikes with ease, then retaliated with a massive wind jutsu that flung Team 7 into the branches. Nar. Yuto slammed into a TRFF nearly knocked from his grasp. Before anyone could recover, Orochimaru singled out Sasuke, launching an assault that pinned him to the ground. Fangs bared, she bit into Sasuke's neck, a horrifying scene. Sasuke screamed, black marks spiraling from the wound. Orochimaru hissed in satisfaction as if savoring the moment. Sakura rushed to Sasuke's side, calling his name. But the grass ninja slithered back into the shadows, addressing Naruto with a predatory smile. We'll meet again, boy with the golden staff. That power of yours is interesting. Almost divine. With that, she vanished, leaving Team 7 rattled. Sasuke writhed in agony, the cursed seal burning his skin. Naruto and Sakura could only watch helplessly as the marks flared. Dash 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 dash. They found temporary shelter in a hollowed tree trunk. The forest's humidity pressed in, thunder rolling in the distance. Sakura tended to Sasuke as best she could, but he drifted in and out of consciousness, sweat pouring off him in waves. The black seal spread ominously across his shoulder, receding only after hours of torment. Naruto paced, anger simmering in his chest. This is messed up, he muttered. Who the hell was that psycho? Why target Sasuke? Sakura, voice trembling, explained, I think that was Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin who abandoned Konoha. Naruto clenched his fists. So this is the darkness lurking in the shinobi world. He recalled Haku's sacrifice, Zabuza's violence, but Orochimaru felt worse, a twisted malice that seemed insatiable. Through the night, Sasuke's fever raged. Naruto remained on guard, illusions cast around their hideout to deter other teams. Several times, footsteps approached, but the illusions spooked them away. The next morning, Sasuke finally stirred, wincing at the searing pain in his neck. When he opened his eyes, they glowed with a strange intensity. Naruto, Sakura, we still have a mission, he croaked. Sakura tried to get him to rest, but he insisted. Slowly, they prepared to move again, determined to reach the tower before time ran out. Dash 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 dash. Team 7's next encounter involved a Sound Village trio led by Dosu. The confrontation took place by a deep ravine, water rushing below. The Sound Nin targeted Sasuke, apparently drawn by rumor of Orochimaru's interest. But this time, Sasuke unleashed a burst of power from the cursed seal, black marks crawling along his body. His strength soared, enough to brutally overwhelm Dosu's group. Naruto leapt between them, staff raised to stop Sasuke from going too far. That's enough, he shouted. Sasuke snarled in a voice not entirely his own. It took Sakura's trembling plea, "You're hurting people," for him to snap out of it. The black marks receded, leaving him shaken and pale. Naruto inhaled slowly, We'll figure this out later. Right now, we gotta get that Earth scroll from them. They found the Sound Team's scroll, stashed it, and pushed on. By the fourth day, they'd fended off multiple skirmishes and evaded monstrous creatures. Exhaustion weighed on all of them. But at last, the massive tower loomed in the forest center. They stumbled inside, half dead from stress and injuries, only to discover that they were among the earliest teams to arrive. Enko and several proctors awaited them, offering a curt nod. Congratulations, you've survived the forest of death. Naruto let out a deep exhale, shoulders sagging. A week among lethal foes and monstrous illusions was tough even for him. Yet, beneath the fatigue, adrenaline still thronged. I made it. We made it. Sasuke clutched his neck, eyes clouded with worry. That cursed mark. What next? Dash 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 dash. The proctors announced that those who passed the second exam would get a short rest before the preliminaries. Medical Nin examined the battered genin, patching wounds and screening for life-threatening conditions. For Sasuke, an Anbu team sealed his curse mark temporarily, though no one could remove it completely without advanced techniques. In the tower's large communal area, surviving teams milled about. Some eyed each other with fierce competitiveness, while others formed friendly alliances. Naruto found himself swarmed by a curious swirl of people wanting to talk about his staff, his illusions, or rumors that he'd single-handedly fended off entire squads. Some accusations. You must be cheating, right? Nobody's that strong for a rookie. Naruto only laughed, brushing them off. Believe what you want. Ino and Tenten both caught him chatting up to Mari, the sand kunoichi with a giant fan strapped to her back. She tossed her hair, smirking as Naruto complimented her wind-based jutsu. So you're the brat from the leaf everyone's talking about? Tamari asked with a playful drawl. Heir to some monkey king. Naruto shrugged. That's one way to put it. She gave him an appraising glance. Not bad, kid. If we face each other, I won't go easy. He grinned, stepping closer, his casual swagger on full display. I'd be offended if you did. Temari's eyes sparkled, amused by his confidence. You're a real piece of work, aren't you? What can I say? He teased. I like strong kunoichi. Behind them, Tenten rolled. Her eyes but shot Naruto a playful scowl. That flirt, she thought, recalling her own small moment with him. Ino, similarly eavesdropping, folded her arms, not entirely sure how she felt about Naruto's easy charm. But Naruto, oblivious to any friction, simply found the interactions fun. He liked the banter, the sparks that flew whenever he met a fierce or curious kunoichi. With the fear of the forest behind them, a brief respite of comedic flirting felt like sweet relief. Dash 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 dash. Soon, the intercom crackled. Hayate Gecko, a sickly-looking proctor, gathered everyone in a large arena within the tower. Because many teams still remain, we'll hold preliminary matches, he announced. Fight until one side is incapacitated or concedes. Killing is discouraged, but accidents happen. Sasuke stood by Naruto's side, arms folded over his chest. He tried to mask the tension from the cursed seal. Sakura hovered anxiously, biting her lip. One by one, the proctor called names for each match. TS erupted in the wide pit. Fierce taijutsu, ninjutsu, illusions. Naruto watched from the balcony, staff leaning against the railing, enthralled by the variety of styles. When Rock Lee battled Gaara, it was a spectacle of speed and monstrous sand defenses, ending in Lee's near-crippling defeat. Naruto clenched his fists at Gaara's remorseless approach, sensing that dark aura again. He's like me, but twisted. Finally, the screen flickered. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Hiba Inuzuka. Hiba smirked from across the balcony, Akamaru barking on his shoulder. Time to show you what real speed and smell are about, monkey boy. Naruto jogged down the steps, staff in hand. Let's see you try, dog breath. The referee signaled start. Hiba dashed forward, blur fast, Akamaru at his heels. Naruto calmly spun his staff, illusions flickering. Hiba crashed through one doppelganger, only to find it intangible. Another Naruto whopped him from the side, sending him tumbling. Grr! Akamaru! Hiba yelled, feeding the dog a soldier pill. The pup transformed into a clone of Kiba, and both came at Naruto with the fang over fang technique, twin drills of whirling claws. Naruto grinned, shrank the staff, and leapt high. The swirling claws tore chunks out of the arena floor beneath him. Mid-air, Naruto extended the staff downward, forcibly halting Kiba's spin with a loud crack. One Kiba clone spat blood and poofed back into a dazed Akamaru, while the real Kiba reeled from the impact. Before Kiba could recover, Naruto vanished in a swirl of illusions, reappearing behind Kiba to deliver a swift, staff-enhanced strike. Kiba collapsed, vision spinning. The proctor declared Naruto the winner. Cheers erupted from those looked on in awe. Naruto helped Kiba up, giving him a friendly pat on the shoulder. "You're not half bad," he said. "Just need more practice dealing with illusions." Kiba shook his head, trying to laugh it off. "Guess so. Damn, you're tricky, man." Naruto swaggered back to the balcony, where Ino promptly gave his arm a playful squeeze. "Nice job, monkey boy," she teased. Tenten, who'd come by to watch, winked from across the aisle. Sakura congratulated him with relief, while Sasuke merely nodded in quiet approval. The next bouts ensued. Sakura faced Ino in a clash that ended in a double knockout, both girls' pride wounded. A subsequent match saw Shikamaru outsmart Kin from the Sound Village with his shadow jutsu. Then, Sasuke's name flashed. He matched against Yoroi, a chakra-absorbing shinobi. Despite the cursed seal flaring, Sasuke unleashed a newly copied taijutsu combo derived from Rock Lee's style and triumphed. Though he nearly collapsed afterward, Kakashi hurried him away to seal the mark more thoroughly. Toward the end, Hinata Hyuga bravely fought her cousin Neji, but the difference in skill was vast. She collapsed, battered, though Naruto admired her courage. He felt a protective anger at Neji's cruelty. "I might have to teach that jerk a lesson." Finally, the last bracket posted, Naruto vs. Neji Hyuga in the final round. Naruto stared up at the board, heart pounding. Neji, the genius Byakugan user, who took down Hinata so heartlessly. His fists clenched. A swirl of golden energy flickered around him for an instant, fueled by the memory of Hinata's battered form. "I won't lose," he whispered. Dash 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 dash. A moment of respite and tension. With the preliminaries finished, the few remaining genin advanced to the final stages of the Chunin exams, scheduled to take place in a month's time. That month would allow them to train and refine new techniques. Excitement, tea and dread intermingled in the air as the last matches were announced. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga, Sasuke Uchiha vs. Gaara of the Sand, Shino Aburame vs. Kankuro, Temari vs. Shikamaru. Winners WOU. LDB decided in a grand arena before the entire village and dignitaries from other nations. Kakashi quickly took Sasuke under his wing for specialized training, leaving Naruto to seek out any teacher who could sharpen his edge. It was at this juncture that Jiraiya, another of the legendary Sannin, arrived in the village on research, red, peeping business. Hiruzen suggested Naruto train under Jiraiya, at least to harness the Nine Tails chakra, but Naruto found himself torn. "I have sung Wukong's staff, illusions, and monkey style. Do I really need some frog sage's help?" Still, curiosity won out, and Naruto agreed to let Jiraiya guide him, if only to refine his massive chakra reserves. Meanwhile, the village braced for the grand finals. Orochimaru lurked in the shadows, planning his invasion. Gaara brooded, the one tail inside him whispering bloodlust. And Naruto, well, he had other concerns in addition to training. Dash 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 dash. Naruto's popularity soared after his victory in the preliminaries. Some called him a prodigy, others a reckless genius. He simply soaked in the attention, including the interest from several kunoichi. Over the next week, as the final stage approached, Yuto found himself juggling unplanned encounters of the romantic kind. One evening, after a sweaty training session by the hot springs, he ran into Ino, who had just finished restocking her family's flower shop. They strolled together under the lantern-lit streets, talking illusions and mind jutsu. Ino, bold as always, teased him about his excessive flirting, but before long, she found herself pressed against an alley wall. Naruto's grin inches from her face. Excessive, huh, he murmured, voice low. Ino's breath caught. Yeah, she managed, though her tone softened. He dipped his head, capturing her lips in a brief, heated kiss. She responded with equal fervor, half-lidded eyes fluttering shut. It was a rush of adrenaline that only grew when he nibbled at her lower lip, drawing a playful gasp. Eventually, they broke apart. Both flushed. Wow, Ino murmured, struggling for composure. We should, maybe do that again sometime. Naruto chuckled, stepping back. Count on it, he said, giving her a playful wink before they parted ways. Another day, Tenten cornered him at a training field near the Hyuga compound. She had an array of new weapons to test. I heard you're fighting Neji, she said, tossing a 3-section staff into the air and catching it deftly. He's my teammate, so, mind if I see what you're working on, so I can pass along a warning. She grinned mischievously. Naruto snorted. That's sneaky. But sure, I'll show you some moves, if you can handle them. They sparred for nearly an hour, the clang of metal echoing as Tenten tried out different implements, while Naruto practiced integrating illusions with his staff sequences. The session ended with Naruto pinning her to the ground, staff across her collarbones. She looked up at him, breathless, cheeks lightly dusted with pink. Okay, she panted. You win. That staff is insane, he smirked, leaning closer. I've got more insane moves if you're curious. Tenten laughed breathily. You're a menace, she teased, hooking a hand around his neck. In a swift motion, she tugged him down for a firm kiss, more controlled than Ino's playful one, but charged with Tenten's competitive fire. Naruto responded in kind, heart pounding. For a moment, they forgot all about training. When they finally parted, Tenten grinned, eyes dancing. That's for pushing me beyond my limits. Don't let it go to your head. Naruto merely grinned back. No promises. Elsewhere, Sakura found herself grappling with conflicting emotions. She'd grown closer to Naruto after the Land of Waves, and seeing him so easily connect with Oath Kunoichi stirred a vague sense of jealousy in her gut, even though her long-standing crush on Sasuke still lingered. One afternoon, she cornered Naruto outside a tea house, blurting, Hey, do you even notice me? He blinked, a bit confused. Of course I do. We're teammates. She fiddled with her hands. But I mean, I'm not blind. I see you flirting around. And, look, are we friends or? Naruto's expression softened. Sakura, you're precious to me. Both you and Sasuke are. But, you know how I am. I don't like being tied down. She laughed lightly, half exasperated. Yeah, I've noticed. Still, maybe sometimes it'd be nice if you. She paused, cheeks reddening, then huffed, never mind. Just don't get yourself killed in the finals, idiot. He gave her a playful nudge. Same to you, Sakura. She left, feelings unresolved. But maybe that was enough for now. Training under Jiraiya. In between these heated encounters, Naruto began training with Jiraiya. They focused on summoning jutsu and, eventually, on tapping into the Nine Tails chakra safely. But Jiraiya quickly realized Naruto's Monkey King aura was unique. This staff and your illusions, Jiraiya mused one morning. They seem to disrupt the fox's chakra in unusual ways. Almost as though you have a separate, divine energy source overshadowing the Nine Tails. Naruto scratched his head. Sun Wukong's power. He said it's older than any mortal. Maybe it's messing with the fox. Jiraiya rubbed his chin. Maybe. All the better for you. You're less prone to losing control. Still, you should learn to harness the beast's reserves. The finals will have no shortage of strong opponents, including that boy Gaara with the one tail. Naruto's expression darkened, recalling Gaara's unfeeling eyes. If he's anything like me, then maybe I can reach him. He said softly, or at least stop him from hurting people. Bold Clade. Anyway, let's see your summoning. They practiced near a waterfall outside the village walls. Naruto bit his thumb, forming the summoning technique. Instead of the usual toad that Jiraiya expected, a swirl of golden clouds occasionally manifested. Sometimes a small monkey warrior appeared, brandishing miniature versions of the Rui's staff, chattering in an ancient simian tongue. Naruto's illusions could fuse with these monkey summons, creating bizarre combos that left Jiraiya scratching his head. "You sure you're not summoning the entire Monkey King tribe?" Jiraiya muttered. "Well, if it works in battle, go for it." Naruto grinned, wholeheartedly intent on surprising the entire exam with these new abilities. Dash 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 dash. The day of the final stage loomed. The village thrummed with visitors. Lords and ladies from far-off lands, dignitaries from other hidden villages, all eager to watch the epic battles. Naruto felt a swirling in his gut, part excitement, part nervousness. He walked through the nighttime streets, the festival-like atmosphere giving everything a dreamlike quality. Lanterns glowed, stalls sold sweets and souvenirs, and shinobi from various villages mingled. As he wandered, he spotted Temari leaning against a railing overlooking a canal. She had a pensive look on her face. "Thinking about your match?" he asked, stepping up beside her. She smirked without turning. "Maybe. Shikamaru's no slouch, but he's lazy. I shouldn't underestimate him, though." Naruto nodded. "He's a genius, just doesn't like to show it." She arched a brow at him. "What about you? Facing that Hyuga prodigy, you ready?" He gripped the railing, gazing at the water's reflection of lantern light. "Neji's strong, but I've faced worse. I'll manage." Temari watched him curiously. "You're an odd one, Naruto. Fearless, playful, powerful, somehow all at once." He shrugged, meeting her gaze. "Don't see much point in hiding who I am. If that makes me odd, so be it." A quiet beat passed. Then Temari leaned in with a half smirk, voice dropping. "I can respect that." He saw an invitation in her eyes, a flash of challenge. Or maybe curiosity. So he leaned closer, bridging the gap. When their lips met, it was a brief, heated exchange that felt equal parts test and indulgence. She tasted of sweet dumplings and the desert wind. Her nails grazed his collar as she pulled him closer for an extra heartbeat before pushing him away lightly, cheeks flushed. "Tomorrow, we're enemies," she reminded him, breath slightly uneven. He chuckled. "Fine by me, doesn't change the moment." She rolled her eyes, but a genuine smile touched her lips. "You're insane. Good luck, monkey boy." Naruto tapped his temple. "Back at you, fangirl." They parted, an odd warmth in the air. Dash 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 dash. That night, Naruto barely slept, mind whirling with images. Neji's Byakugan, Gaara's menacing aura, Sasuke's cursed seal, Orochimaru's sinister grin. And beneath it all, he felt the stirring presence of the Nine Tails, and the faint echo of Sun Wukong's boisterous laughter, as if urging him onward. Dawn broke over the village, painting the sky in pale oranges and pinks. Naruto stood at his window, staff leaning by his side, heart hammering. Today was the day. Today, the finals would begin, and the entire Shinobi world would see what he, the heir to the Monkey King, was truly made of. He clenched his fist, recalling every battle up to now. Haku's tragic resolve, Zabuza's last stand, the savage horrors of the Forest of Death. The illusions he'd perfected in the mountains, the staff's near limitless potential. "I won't hold back." Down on the street, crowds already streamed toward the arena. Naruto grabbed the Rui Jingu Bang, slid it behind his back, and leapt from his window onto a nearby rooftop. The crisp morning wind brushed his face. In that moment, he allowed himself a small grin. "Here we go, old monkey," he thought, imagining Sun Wukong's grin beaming across the sky. "Let's shake this ninja world up." And with a single, powerful leap, Naruto vaulted across the rooftops toward the grand stadium, where destiny awaited. End of Chapter 3. Naruto stood before his mirror at dawn, tracing his fingertips across the whisker-like marks on his cheeks. He could hear the faint hum of the village beyond his window, the streets already swelling with people heading toward the colossal stadium. Today was the day of the Chunin exams finals, and he was about to face Neji Hyuga in front of thousands. He inhaled, trying to steady the roiling in his gut. The final rounds would be more than just a tournament. Whispers of tension between nations floated through the village, and everything about this event felt charged. Kakashi had vanished somewhere with Sasuke, presumably putting the finishing touches on training for his match against Gaara. Sakura had her own nerves, though she was simply a bystander now, having lost in the prelims. As for Naruto, he had spent every spare moment working with Jiraiya, though he still felt he hadn't scratched the surface of the Nine Tails chakra or even the depths of Sun Wukong's staff. He grabbed the Rui Jingu Bang, the legendary weapon that had become an extension of himself, and slung it across his back. The staff shimmered faintly as if responding to his emotions. He thought about how it all began, being raised on Flower Fruit Mountain, training with the mischievous Monkey King. He let that memory warm him, fueling his resolve. He leapt onto the windowsill, hopped to the adjacent rooftop, and began bounding across the buildings toward the stadium. The rising sun painted the sky with molten gold, and he couldn't help grinning. Whatever happened, he was ready. Dash 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 dash. Guards flanked the massive entrance gates of the arena. Already, the stands teemed with eager spectators, merchants, nobility, ordinary villagers, visiting dignitaries from every corner of the continent. The noise swelled into a feverish roar whenever a notable figure passed by. Naruto spotted glimpses of the Kage's lavish robes in the VIP section, sitting near the third Hokage. More than once, he sensed some intangible tension radiating from that area, as if a silent storm brewed. He made his way to the waiting room beneath the stands, weaving through the labyrinth of corridors. A few other contestants had gathered. Shino Aburame stood in a corner, face half hidden by his collar. Kankuro fiddled with his puppet behind some tarpaulin, and Temari leaned against the wall, arms crossed over her giant fan. She caught Naruto's eye and gave a knowing, half smile that made his chest flutter with the memory of their late-night kiss. "Ready to blow us all away?" Temari teased. Naruto flexed his shoulders. "I should be asking you that, fangirl." She smirked, but there was underlying tension in her expression. He sensed she was grappling with her own worries, likely about Gaara. She was a proud kunoichi, strong in her own right, but her younger brother's thirst for violence was no secret. Naruto almost asked about him but decided against it. The last thing anyone wanted before a big match was to dwell on the possible disasters. He caught sight of Tenten just beyond one of the archways, her hair done in twin buns, standing with Might Guy and Rock Lee. She gestured for Naruto to come closer. When he did, Tenten gave him a quick once-over, checking on him, apparently. "You look pumped," she said, fists propped on her hips. "Neji's not gonna know what hit him," Naruto replied, though inside he couldn't deny a jittery swirl of nerves. "Hope I can knock him down a peg after the way he treated Hinata." Tenten's expression flickered. Neji was her teammate, but she recognized the intensity of his personal issues. "Don't underestimate him," she warned softly. "That Byakugan sees everything, and he's a genius with the gentle fist." "I know," Naruto said, "but I'm not exactly short or aren't." Tenten muttered, glancing at the staff on his back. Her eyes traced the length of it, then darted up to meet his. "After your match, maybe you can show me some new moves." He read between the lines of her coy tone, stepping in close so that she felt the warmth of his presence. The sound of Lee's boisterous conversation with Guy a short distance away gave them a sliver of privacy. "New moves," Naruto echoed, a playful grin tugging at his lips. "As in, staff techniques, or?" Tenten's cheeks glowed faintly. "Yeah, staff techniques," she said, though she didn't sound entirely convincing. She cast a quick glance around to confirm nobody was watching. Then she rose on her toes, brushing her lips over his for the briefest moment. "For luck," she whispered. Naruto let the thrill surge up his spine, meeting her gaze. "Thanks, I'll use it well." He gave her a small, roguish wink before stepping back, leaving her with a faint smirk on her face. He wove through the corridor, heart thudding. There was something oddly comforting about these fleeting moments, like anchors in a chaotic sea. He wondered if the old monkey would have teased him for enjoying so much human attention. Probably, but maybe Wukong would also be proud that Naruto was forging such bold connections. Dash 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 dash. The overhead announcer's voice boomed through the arena, echoing off the walls. "We'll begin the final matches of the Chunin exams now. Will all finalists please gather in the stadium floor?" Naruto hustled to the entrance tunnel, stepping out onto the warm sand of the arena. The cheers rolling from the stands hit him like a physical force. His eyes darted around, catching glimpses of Kiba and Hinata in the crowd, cheering for him. Ino waved from a mid-level section, her blonde hair bright under the sun. Tenten was up there somewhere, too, probably near Team Guy. He breathed in the swirling energy of thousands of watchers. This was different from any battle in the Forester Wave mission. This was public, intense. A stage for legends to be made. Genma Shiranui, the proctor for the finals, stood at the center of the ring with a Senbon needle in his mouth. Next to him, the Brack Ket listing loomed on a large display board. Shino vs. Konkuro, Shikamaru vs. Tamari, Sasuke vs. Gaara, Naruto vs. Neji, and one or two fights that had changed due to last-minute dropouts. One of the sound genin had mysteriously vanished. Genma flicked his gaze over the contestants. Due to some changes, the order of matches is slightly shifted. First up, Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga. Both fighters stepped forward. The rest were directed to wait outside the arena floor. Naruto's mouth went dry, adrenaline spiking. First match right away, he cracked his knuckles, turning to see Neji approaching from the opposite side of the ring. Neji looked poised, calm, and as stoic as ever. His long hair framed his pale eyes, the Byakugan's veins subtly visible at his temples. He regarded Naruto with that faint air of superiority. So, Neji said, voice low but carrying across the silence that fell over the crowd, you've come this far. Fate must be smiling on you. Naruto's nostrils flared. I make my own fate, he retorted. He slid the staff from his back, letting it grow to quarterstaff length. Neji gave the barest shrug. Fate cannot be changed. Not by you. Not by anyone. Hinata proved that. Heated anger stirred Naruto's gut. Memories of Hinata's battered form after facing Neji in the prelims fueled him. He wouldn't let this guy get away with that brand of cruelty. He bent his knees, staff angled forward. Maybe I'll show you otherwise. Genma glanced at both, confirming they were ready, then slashed the air with his hand. Begin. Dash 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 dash. Neji shot forward, covering the distance in a flicker. Naruto swung the staff, but Neji's palm thrust hammered into it. A wave of force rippled through Naruto's arms. The Hyuga's gentle fist style targeted chakra points, and Naruto felt the sting of that precision as some of his chakra flow faltered. He leapt back, illusions already forming around him. 3 identical clones coalesced, each twirling a staff. Tricks, Neji muttered, Byakugan flaring. He scanned for the real Naruto. But the illusions were laced with subtle monkey chi that muddied even a Byakugan's sight. Neji's confusion lasted half a second, just long enough for Naruto to slip behind him, staff arcing. Neji spun around, arms in the classic Juken stance, deflecting the blow with open palms. The clang echoed in the hush. Neji responded with a swift palm to Naruto's chest. Pain jolted through Naruto's ribs, sending him skidding on the sandy floor. He coughed, clenching his teeth. It felt as though Neji's strike had cut off some of his chakra flow. Worse, the Hyuga was dangerously quick. Still, Naruto refused to let up. Let's see you handle this, he said, hand sealing. Sung Wukong's illusions sprang out again, but this time they merged with a technique Naruto had practiced under Jiraiya, ordinary shadow clones. The illusions and real clones overlapped, swirling around Neji in a dizzying array. The crowd roared at the spectacle. A horde of Naruto's wielding staffs, each flickering with golden energy. Neji pivoted, Byakugan spinning. You can't fool these eyes forever, he hissed, and he unleashed a sudden kaiden, a whirling dome of chakra that erupted from his body, blasting the clones apart. Debris flew, several illusions vanished, and real clones shattered with a pop of smoke. Naruto shielded his face from the gale. So that was the famous Hyuga rotation. He'd seen a version of it from Hinata, but Neji's was far more refined. Okay, he muttered. No messing around. He extended the Rui Jingu Bang to maximum length, bracing it on the ground like a pole. With a grunt, he vaulted high above the swirling dust, flipping overhead. From that vantage, he shrank the staff in an instant, re-angled it, then slammed it back down. Neji spotted the incoming blow and tried to rotate again, but Naruto's staff extended unpredictably, hooking around the swirling chakra at an angle. The tip caught Neji's shoulder, driving him to one knee. A collective gasp swept through the stadium. Neji grimaced, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. But in the next heartbeat, he forced himself upright, ignoring pain. Those pale eyes narrowed, I refuse to lose. Yo, illusions won't save you from destiny. Naruto dropped to the ground, staff at the ready. Enough about destiny. You're just trying to justify hurting people. Neji's silence was cold. Then he moved with lightning speed, closing the gap again, launching a fury of palm strikes. Naruto tried to block with the staff, but the Hyuga Saiyan's blows came from all angles, each tapping key chakra points. Naruto felt pockets of numbness in his arms. He swung once more, only to have Neji's palm slam into his gut, winding him. The crowd murmured, sensing a shift in momentum. Naruto staggered, vision swimming. I can't let him lock down my chakra entirely. He forced that golden chi, the monkey aura, to surge. The staff pulsed, reigniting the blocked pathways. Then he planted the rod in the ground and hissed through clenched teeth. You want to see real power? He poured more energy in than he ever had in the training field, letting the staff's ancient enchantments mesh with a flicker of the Nine-Tails chakra. A swirl of red and gold flickered around him. Neji's eyes widened as the very air seemed to vibrate with wild, rebellious force. A beat later, Naruto lunged. The staff's tip shimmered with golden red light. Neji attempted a Kaden again, but Naruto hammered through the edge of the spin, forcibly shattering the dome. Pieces of swirling chakra blasted outward. The shockwave nearly knocked Naruto back, but he pressed forward, crashing the staff into Neji's chest. The Hyuga genius coughed blood, flung across the arena floor. Silence fell like a thunderclap. Naruto panted, he exertion. Neji knelt in the sand, dazed, blood streaking his chin. He tried to rise, but his legs buckled. Over in the stands, Tenten covered her mouth in disbelief. Even Lee stood with eyes wide, the green spandex reflecting the bright sunlight. Neji coughed, gasping, impossible. Fate can't be defied, he rasped, but his voice held less conviction now. Naruto lifted the staff over his shoulder. Maybe why? Oh, you should stop whining about fate and focus on living your own life. Hinata's not some stepping stone for your bitterness. Neither am I. Neji's face contorted. Hurt, anger, shame all mingled. But he couldn't rise. The proctor stepped forward, assessing him. He's unable to continue, Genma declared, raising his hand in Naruto's direction. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. A roar of applause tore through the stadium. Naruto stood there, chest heaving, staff balanced in his grip. Relief and exhilaration flooded him. He had proven his mettle against a Hyuga prodigy in front of everyone. He glanced up at the stands. Hiba was whooping like a maniac. Hinata pressed her hands to her chest in gratitude, and Ino waved excitedly. Tenten gave a small, proud grin. Even Shikamaru offered a lazy clap. Naruto looked down at Neji. The Hyuga exhaled shakily, eyes cast aside. If anything, Naruto felt a pang of sympathy. He extended a hand. After a hesitation, Neji took it, standing unsteadily. It wasn't exactly a hug, but it felt like a step towards something less hostile. Neji's gaze flickered, as if he might say something, then he turned away in silence. Naruto trudged back to the tunnel where the medics took Neji for healing. His own body ached, and the numbness from the Hyuga strikes lingered in his arms. He let the staff shrink to a baton, sighing. That had been intense, and it was only the first match of the day. He took a seat on a bench, ignoring the background noise of the next fight about to start. A slender figure approached from behind, leaning down to ruffle his hair. He glanced up to see Ino, beaming. That was awesome, she said. I mean, you had me worried for a second, but wow. Naruto gave a breathless laugh. Honestly, I was worried too. Neji's no joke. Ino plopped down next to him. Her usual teasing grin softened into something more genuine. And you're okay. She saw the way he cradled his ribs. I'll manage, Naruto replied, rotating his shoulder. If it weren't for my staff and some fox chakra, I don't know. She caught a fleeting glimpse of pain in his eyes, and without her usual bravado, she lifted a hand to his cheek, brushing away a bit of dust. Just take care of yourself, okay? Her voice hushed. You've been throwing yourself into so many battles. He turned, leaning in close enough that he caught the faint scent of her shampoo. That's part of being a ninja. But, thanks for worrying. His eyes flicked to her lips. The desire to bridge the gap surged in him. Her presence was a balm to the adrenaline crash swirling in his veins. He pressed a soft kiss to her mouth, letting the tension seep out of him. Ino responded for a heated moment, parting with a quiet sigh. Then she chuckled, glancing around to make sure no one was watching. I'd tell you to save that energy, but I guess it's not a bad way to unwind. He grinned. I've got plenty to spare. Before they could banter further, a roar thundered from the crowd. The next match must have been something special. Ino stood, smoothing her skirt. Looks like Shikamaru's up soon, or maybe Tamari. I should check it out. Naruto rose, rolling his shoulders. I'll come with. He needed to see what was happening in the arena, and maybe keep an eye out for suspicious activity. A weird tension still gnawed at the edges of his mind, like the air before a lightning storm. They found a spot at the edge of the balcony just in time to see the tail end of Shino's match with Konkuro. The puppet user forfeited rather than reveal his trump cards, leaving Shino the winner by default. Then came Shikamaru versus Tamari. A clash of cunning. Shikamaru used shadows and elaborate feints, while Tamari employed her massive fan to blow him away, literally. The crowd loved it, especially the final moment, when Shikamaru's shadow nearly snared her, only for him to quit, citing that he was out of chakra and it was too troublesome to keep fighting. Naruto, leaning over the balcony, laughed at Shikamaru's nonchalance. That guy's something else. Beside him, Tamari returned to the stands with a perplexed look, shaking her head. She spotted Naruto and rolled her eyes. He basically had me, then gave up. Idiot, I would have lost if he hadn't. Quote, Naruto shrugged. He's not lazy, just strategic to a fault. Good match, though. Tamari gave him a little smirk, but there was unease flickering in her eyes. He wondered if she sensed the same dark undercurrent that he did. Finally, the board displayed the next fight, Sasuke Uchiha versus Gaara. The crowd murmured excitedly. Sasuke, last loyal Uchiha, was famous. And Gaara had garnered a reputation for cold, unstoppable power. Except Sasuke was nowhere to be seen. Genma gave him a grace period, waiting, but impatience rippled through the stadium. Even the third Hokage shifted in his seat. Naruto frowned, worried. Come on, Kakashi-sensei, where are you two? He half expected them to dramatically show up at the last second. Right on cue, a swirl of leaves signaled Kakashi's arrival at the top of the stands, Sasuke in tow. The crowd erupted into cheers. Sasuke hopped down to the arena floor, face set in unwavering focus. Gaara stood there, arms folded across his gourd, which leaked sand. He looked bored, or maybe hungry for violence. Naruto leaned forward, heart pounding. He knew Gaara was dangerous, a fellow Jinchuriki. Sasuke had the cursed eel sealed away. Did he have enough power to match that monstrous sand? The fight commenced. Sasuke dashed in with speed reminiscent of Rock Lee's taijutsu, weaving around Gaara's swirling sand defenses. Gaara's eyes widened in surprise. Unaccustomed to someone evading his automatic shield, Sasuke landed a blow that cracked Gaara's sandy armor, drawing a trickle of blood. The crowd gasped at the CGHT of the so-called untouchable Gaara actually wounded. Naruto felt an uneasy excitement. Sasuke had improved drastically, but as Gaara clutched his head, eyes gleaming with mania, the air seemed to shift. A wave of malevolent chakra pulsed from him. Cracks rippled across his sand shell, revealing something monstrous beneath. The stadium lights flickered. Naruto sensed a deep, primal presence stirring. Something that resonated with the nine tails inside him. Gaara let out a ragged laugh, lifting his gaze to the sky. Sand spiraled around him, thickening. Sasuke pressed the advantage, forming hand seals. Lightning crackled around his palm. The Chidori, Kakashi's infamous jutsu. Sasuke charged, lightning screeching in his grip, and aimed straight for Gaara's heart. In that split second, everything changed. A bizarre signal flared from the VIP box. The cage, seated beside the Hokage, suddenly turned on him, brandishing a kunai. Clouds of smoke burst all around the stadium. Shinobi in sound and sand uniforms emerged, descending upon the crowd. An invasion. It was chaos. Sasuke's lightning strike pierced the sand, but Gaara recoiled, half transformed, howling. He then launched himself away, ignoring the rules of the exam entirely. Temari and Kankuro followed, presumably to protect or assist him. Sasuke gave chase without hesitation, ignoring the swirling chaos behind him. Naruto realized that the arena was under attack. Up in the stands, a barrier of purple flames sprang up around the Hokage and the supposed cage, who, from the glimpses Naruto caught, was none other than Orochimaru in disguise. So this was Orochimaru's plan all along. Damn it, Naruto muttered. We have an invasion. Jiraiya, who had been obs, snapped into action, unleashing toads to combat the horde of foreign shinobi. Enko and other Jonin fought to protect civilians. The stadium erupted into a battlefield. Naruto's instincts screamed to follow Sasuke. Gaara was on the brink of unleashing the One Tail. But he also worried about the Hokage, who was trapped behind that barrier. He caught sight of Kakashi across the stands, shouting something to him. Over the roar of panic, Naruto only heard Fr. Agments. Gaara, Sasuke, stop him, I'll handle. Barrier, the message was clear enough. Go after Gaara and Sasuke. Naruto nodded, teeth bared in grim determination. He leapt into the stands, illusions swirling around him to fend off attacking sound shinobi. One rushed him from behind, but Naruto slammed the Rui Jingu bang backward without even turning, sending the assailant flying. Another tried a jutsu, only to be engulfed in Naruto's shape-shifting illusions. People were screaming, scattering in all directions. In the crush of fleeing civilians, he spotted Tenten valiantly helping the injured. Ino was further up, shepherding a group of villagers out of the seats. Their eyes briefly met, and Naruto gave an encouraging nod, signaling that he was okay. He then vaulted up the stadium wall, heading after Sasuke and Gaara. Outside the arena, smoke blanketed the streets. Sand and sound ninjas skirmished with Konoha defenders. The once lively festival atmosphere had turned to chaos. Naruto raced toward the forest on the village's outskirts, trusting his instincts to guide him to Gaara's location. He passed a cluster of genin squads trying to fend off a squad of puppet wielders. He was tempted to help, but time was critical. He clenched his jaw and pressed on. He found footprints in the dirt, marks of heavy gourd-laden strides. Sasuke's footprints, too, likely. Naruto followed them into a deep, moonlit forest, twisting through the trees until he picked up faint echoes of battle. A clearing lay ahead, glowing with an eerie luminescence. He slowed, stepping softly. Another pulse of sinister chakra made the hair on his arms stand on end. He emerged to see Sasuke pinned against a tree trunk by a thick wave of sand. Gaara stood at the center of the clearing, half his body mutated into a demonic raccoon-like form. His eyes were wild, crazed with bloodlust, his voice resonating in an animalistic growl. The ground was torn apart, chunks of earth floating amidst swirling grains of sand. Sasuke fired off a second Chidori, struggling against the sand's grip, but the jutsu fizzled, his stamina clearly near its limit. Gaara cackled, pressing the sand tighter. You can't hurt me. Mother is hungry for your blood. Naruto dove forward, illusions blazing around him. Gaara, that's enough, he shouted, staff whirling. He forced the sand away from Sasuke with a powerful strike of golden chi, freeing the Uchiha who collapsed to one knee, panting. Gaara turned slowly, an unhinged grin on his partially transformed face. You, the one like me. Another monster. A swirl of sand lashed out. Naruto batted it aside with the staff, but more followed. Each strike hammered the air, heavier than any normal sand manipulation. Naruto jumped, flipping backward to gain distance. He then shot a glance at Sasuke. You alive? Sasuke exhaled, wincing. More or less. My curse marks burning. Not that it helps. Gaara lunged. Sand formed monstrous arms, clawing at Naruto. He responded with illusions, shaping a cluster of monkey spirits to intercept, but Gaara shredded them, howling. Bits of the One Tail's chakra leaked from the monstrous half that replaced Gaara's gored arm. Naruto's heart pounded. He's losing control. This was the danger of a Jinchuriki gone wild. He thought of Haku, Zabuza, Orochimaru's curse, so many tragic twists brought on by unrestrained power. But maybe he could stop Gaara from fully letting the beast loose. He signaled to Sasuke, tried to regroup. I'll keep him busy. Sasuke nodded, pushing to his feet. He tried to gather chakra for another Chidori. Meanwhile, Naruto summoned the swirling golden red energy he'd used against Neji, this time aiming for more. He needed everything if Gaara fully transformed. Gaara roared, thrashing about, scattering trees with enormous sand blasts. Naruto soared over a wave, staff extended. He hammered at Gaara's monstrous shoulder. The blow cracked the sand shell, revealing a raw, trembling flesh beneath. Gaara shrieked, more bestial than human now, and flung Naruto aside. He crashed into a broken stump, ribs aching. The staff clattered across the ground, but Naruto refused to yield. He coughed, tasted copper in his mouth, and forced himself up. Gaara, he called, voice ragged, this isn't how you get people to accept you. Killing them won't fill that hole inside. Gaara froze for a heartbeat, eyes flicking dangerously. Silence. You don't know my pain. Naruto flared with empathy and frustration, recalling his lonely nights in the swirling presence of the Nine Tails. I do, but I won't let you hurt my friends. The monstrous half parted further, revealing Gaara's contorted face. Then I'll kill you first. He formed a single seal. Sand erupted, and in a sickening flash, Gaara's entire body ballooned, sprouting a huge tail. The partial Shukaku form loomed over the clearing, overshadowing the trees with its monstrous presence. Sasuke stared, Sharingan-wide in horror. He's turning into that thing. Naruto swallowed, adrenaline spiking. He sprinted forward, diving to retrieve the Rui Jingu Bang. If Gaara completed the transformation, the one tail might raise half the forest. Sasuke, Naruto barked, evacuate if you can't fight. Let me handle this. Sasuke bristled but recognized his own limits. He tried to help anyway, launching a final lightning-laced punch at the beast's side. It barely fazed Gaara, who swiped Sasuke away with a giant sandy paw. Naruto winced, seeing Sasuke crash into brush. I have to end this now. He gathered every scrap of chakra, both his own and the Nine Tails, letting it merge with the staff's golden chi. The rod glowed so intensely that it lit the clearing like daylight. Storm winds whipped around him, swirling leaves and sand. The monstrous Gaara Shukaku roared, lunging in for a kill. Naruto roared back, leaping skyward with the staff brandished overhead. For an instant, time seemed to slow. Naruto saw Gaara's crazed face inside that raccoon snout, saw the twisted pain in his eyes. Then Naruto swung down with all his might. The staff extended infinitely in a blur of light, slamming onto the Shukaku's head. A shockwave blasted out, flattening trees in a wide radius. Even Sasuke, half-conscious, shielded his eyes from the brilliant flare. When the dust settled, Naruto crouched on the ground, panting, staff trembling in his hands. The monstrous Shukaku form cracked, collapsing into sand. Gaara tumbled free, reverting to his human shape. He landed sprawled on the forest floor, chest heaving. That savage aura ebbed, replaced by confused fear. Naruto steadied himself, chest on fire from the exertion. He forced himself to walk toward Gaara. Each step felt heavier than the last. Gaara tried to crawl backward, panic flickering over his face. He was so different now, almost vulnerable. Naruto dropped to one knee beside him, still clutching the staff. Why? Gaara whispered, voice shaking. Why do you fight so hard, for others? Naruto closed his eyes, thinking of Team 7. Of Tenten's determined smile, Ino's teasing warmth, Hinata's gentle admiration, the village that had welcomed him. Because I found people who care about me. That's what makes me strong, Gaara. I'm not alone anymore. Gaara's eyes widened, tears trembling on his lashes, though he tried to hide it. Then his gaze fell shut, and he lost consciousness. The forest was silent save for the crackle of distant chaos from the village. Naruto sank down. Exhaustion washing over him like a tidal wara was neutralized, the forest would remain standing. Sasuke staggered over, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. He stared at Gaara, then at Naruto. You really did it. Naruto tried to force a grin. Takes a monkey to handle a raccoon, I guess. Sasuke shook his head, half in awe, half in grudging acceptance. You're insane. But he extended a hand, helping Naruto stand. They were both battered, barely able to remain upright. They sensed a flicker of chakra overhead. Temari and Kankuro had arrived, presumably to rescue Gaara, but they didn't attack. Temari, face etched with worry, gathered Gaara in her arms. Kankuro shot Naruto and Sasuke a cautious glare, then nodded. "We're pulling out," he murmured. "We've lost enough." Temari looked as though she wanted to speak to Naruto but held back. She departed with Kankuro, carrying Gaara away. Naruto didn't try to stop them. The invasion might still be raging in the village, but at least Gaara wouldn't cause further destruction. Naruto and Sasuke limped back, half collapsing at the forest's edge. Medics from Konoha found them, whisking them onto stretchers. Shouts and hurried footsteps indicated the chaos was far from over. Naruto craned his neck, trying to see the village skyline. In the distance, pillars of smoke rose. But the intense clashes seemed to have died down. "Lord Hokage," a medic whispered. "We haven't seen him return yet." Naruto's heart sank. The third Hokage was still trapped in that barrier with Orochimaru. He grit his teeth, urging the medic to let him stand, but the older woman pressed him back, telling him to rest. Naruto felt helpless. Even though he was powerful, he was spent. And if Orochimaru had bested the Hokage, the thought stung. Hours blurred. The next clear memory Naruto had was waking up on a cot inside the hospital wing. The sun had set, replaced by a disquieting hush. He struggled to sit, ignoring the dull ache in every muscle. Around him, wounded shinobi crowded the room. Some cried, others lay unconscious. The door slid open, revealing Kakashi and Guy. Their faces were grim. Kakashi moved to Naruto's side. "So," Kakashi said softly, "you're awake." Naruto swallowed. "The Hokage." Kakashi closed his eyes. "He's gone, Naruto. Orochimaru killed him. We only know part of what happened, but Lord Third sacrificed himself to seal Orochimaru's arms and end the invasion early. Without that, the destruction would have been worse." Naruto stared, voice choking. The third Hokage had been the first person in Konoha to greet him, the one who recognized him as Minato's son and welcomed him back from the mountain. Gone. It felt surreal. A tight pain knotted in his chest. Kakashi set a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Thanks to your efforts and the efforts of many others, the village still stands." The sand withdrew after Gaara was neutralized. "But we lost good people, including the Hokage. Now we must pick up the pieces." Naruto's throat felt raw. "I see." Guy tried to smile encouragingly, but even his trademark swagger seemed dimmed. "The will of fire lives on. Naruto, you showed it when you fought Gaara, and we'll continue to show it, even without Lord Third." Naruto nodded numbly, tears burning behind his eyes. He stayed alert as Kakashi and Guy left to check on other patients. Sorrow pressed down like a heavy blanket. Slowly, he rose on shaky legs, limping through the rows of beds. He spotted Sasuke a few beds down, unconscious but stable. Sakura dozed in a chair nearby, bandages on her forearms. Another section housed civilians, likely traumatized by the sudden assault. He found an empty hallway and slid down against the wall. Grief throbbed inside him. Grief for the Hokage, for the cruelty of Orochimaru, for the broken innocence of Gaara. He gripped the Rui Jingu Bang, which was still somehow by his side, letting the cool metal ground him. The old monkey's voice echoed in memory. "Don't let them chain you down. Be bold, be free." But it was hard to feel free now, weighed by loss. A gentle voice startled him from his thoughts. Tenten stood there, bandages wrapped around one arm, apparently from a separate scuffle during the invasion. She knelt next to him. "Naruto, I'm so sorry about the Hokage." He looked up, eyes rimmed red. "Yeah, thanks." His voice quivered despite his attempts to sound normal. She hesitated before slipping an arm around him, leaning her forehead against his. "Hey, it's okay to be sad. No one expects you to bounce back right away." The warmth of her presence tugged a shaky breath from him. He pressed his face into her shoulder, letting the tears slip free, even if just for a moment. Tenten cradled his head, one hand stroking his hair. Her eyes glistened too, the pain of the day heavy for everyone. After all, they were all kids forced into a bitter reality. In that quiet hush of the hallway, they shared a raw, unspoken grief. Naruto felt an odd sense of solace in her embrace. He thought of Ino, of Temari, of everyone who had become entwined in his life lately. This moment reminded him how fragile it all was, how quickly it could be snatched away. They parted, eyes meeting. Tenten's cheeks were wet, but she offered a faint smile. We'll get through this, she whispered. Konoha's strong. And, you're strong too. Naruto let out a trembling sigh. I don't feel strong right now. She brushed her thumb across his cheek. You don't have to, not every second. Just know that you did everything you could. You saved lives. He nodded, managing a small, broken grin. He drew her in again for a gentle kiss, more for comfort than passion. She answered quietly, resting her palm at the nape of his neck. In the midst of tragedy, that flicker of human closeness felt like a lifeline. Dash. Days passed in a solemn blur. The funerals were swift, the memorials heartbreakingly large. Shinobi dressed in black lined up to pay respects to the third Hokage and the others who had fallen. Naruto attended, standing alongside Team 7. Even Sasuke, bandaged and pale, stood by. Sakura clutched a bouquet of white flowers. While Kakashi said little, merely bowing his head. Many wept openly. Naruto stayed quiet through most of the ceremony, lost in thought. He lingered afterward, gazing at the memorial stone etched with countless names. The fresh carving of Hiruzen Sarutobi stood out blaringly. He wanted to apologize for not being there, for failing to protect the old man who once told him about his parents. But he sensed, somehow, that the Hokage wouldn't blame him. As he turned to leave, he spotted Ino a short distance away, tears streaking her cheeks. She managed a watery smile when their eyes met. He approached, hugging her gently. She buried her face in his chest for a moment. Words weren't needed. They both knew the pain of losing a leader, a figure who represented Konoha's heart. Temari was gone, presumably back to the sand with her siblings. Tenten offered him quiet support whenever their paths crossed. Sakura looked torn, juggling her worry for Sasuke and her guilt at not being stronger. Naruto wanted to comfort everyone, but he felt so heavy with sorrow himself. Whenever he found a moment alone, he clutched the staff and tried to channel Wukong's rebellious spirit. There had to be a way forward. Amid this grief, a shift took place in the village's leadership. Jiraiya was tasked with finding another Sannin, Tsunade, to become the fifth Hokage. Rumor had it she was a legendary medic, the only one who could break Orochimaru's curse on Sasuke or perhaps fully remove it. Naruto found himself summoned to the Hokage Tower one final time before the official transition. Hiruzen's seat remained empty, a stark reminder of the loss. Several village elders and advisors gathered, along with Jiraiya, who looked uncharacteristically grim. Danzo, an elder with bandaged eye and arm, studied Naruto with interest. This boy has unique power, should be carefully managed. Homura and Kaharu, other advisors, nodded in cautious agreement. But Jiraiya intervened. He's not a weapon. He's a shinobi of Konoha and a Jinchuriki who deserves the chance to learn properly. Let me take him on a journey to find Tsunade. We can keep him safe while training him. Naruto stood there, uncertain, feeling like an object in the middle of a tug of war. A journey, he repeated. Jiraiya looked at him. Yes, Tsunade is the best candidate for Hokage. I could use your help finding her. And you could use the time to develop your skills. Orochimaru won't stop. We need you ready. A swirl of conflicting emotions welled up in Naruto's chest. He glanced at the staff on his back, remembering Wukong's words about seeing the world and forging his own path. Maybe this was the next step, leaving Konoha for a while, facing new challenges. He gave a firm nod, ignoring Danzo's calculating stare. If it'll help the village, I'm in, he said. Jiraiya managed a faint grin. We'll leave soon, then. Pack your stuff. The day before departure, Naruto strolled through Konoha's quieter streets. Reconstruction crews repaired damaged buildings. Families reunited, grateful to have survived the invasion. The air still carried sadness, but also a resilient undercurrent. Life moved on. He visited Ichiraku Ramen, where Chuki insisted on giving him a free bowl in thanks for fighting off invaders. He scarfed it down, exchanging friendly banter with Ayame. That evening, he wanted to see certain people before he left. First, he found Tenten in one of the training grounds, practicing with new weapons. She turned, smiling softly when she saw him. He explained the plan to leave, possibly for weeks or months. She nodded in understanding, though her eyes flickered with disappointment. Well, I guess I'll have to find someone else to test my new weapons on, she quipped, setting a curved dagger aside. He drew closer. I'll be back, though. Maybe stronger than ever. She tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. You better be. And watch out for pervy old men on the road, she teased. Referencing Jiraiya's eccentric reputation, he laughed, then reached out, gently cupping her cheek. It only took a second before she leaned in, letting their lips meet in a slow, lingering kiss. It wasn't the desperate comfort of the hospital hallway, but something quieter, more hopeful. When they pulled apart, she smiled. Take care, monkey boy. You too, Tenten, he gave her hand a final squeeze and went on his way. His next stop was the Yamanaka flower shop. Ino was behind the counter, counting supplies. She lit up when he entered, but her smile faded slightly. And he shared the news of his upcoming departure. Already, she asked, frowning. You just got back from the exams, and now you're going again. He shifted, feeling a wave of guilt. It's complicated. The village needs a new Hokage. And I need more training. And, well, the advisors want me out of sight for a bit. Ino sighed, tapping her nails on the countertop. I get it. You do what you gotta do. He looked at her, noticing the shadows under her eyes, likely from the invasion aftermath. She'd been helping in the hospital wards using basic medical training. He came around the counter, placing a hand on her shoulder. You've been through a lot. She smiled thinly, leaning against him. We all have, but I'm glad we made it out alive. Just come back, okay? And keep your flirtations in check out there. She tried to muster a teasing tone, but he could hear the seriousness behind it. He wrapped an arm around her waist, drawing her close enough that he could kiss her temple. I promise I'll come back. As for flirtations, well, no promises, he added with a playful grin. She scoffed, smacking his chest lightly. Idiot. Then she kissed him, hands curling in his jacket. Unlike Tenten's quiet moment, Ino's kiss was more fiery, as if she wanted to leave a lasting mark on him. He kissed back with equal fervor, letting their lips linger until both were breathless. Eventually, she pulled away, cheeks flushed, but her eyes sparkled. That's your goodbye present, he chuckled softly. I'll treasure it. They parted with a mutual smile, though an undercurrent of longing remained. He walked out, the faint perfume of flowers still on his collar. Next time, he hoped the village would be in a better state. No more mourning, no more threats. At sunrise, Naruto stood by the main gate, a small travel pack slung over his shoulder, the Rui Jingu bang strapped across his back as always. Jiraiya waited, arms folded. Shikamaru was up on the guard post, yawning, giving Naruto a lazy wave. Sakura appeared briefly, wishing him luck. Even Sasuke showed up, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. You better not slack off, Sasuke said, attempting his usual aloof tone. When you come back, I'll have gotten stronger. Naruto rolled his shoulders. Yeah, well, I'll outdo you either way. It was a half-hearted attempt at banter, but it elicited a smirk from Sasuke. Jiraiya cleared his throat. Come on, Naruto. We've got a lot of ground to cover if we're finding Tsunade. The Toad Sage set off, and Naruto followed. He took one last glance at the village gates, feeling a pang of nostalgia already. In the distance, Tenten and Ino stood on a higher walkway, both waving. He raised his arm in response, heart brimming with mixed emotions. This was farewell, for now. As they left Konoha behind, Naruto felt the cool morning breeze brush his cheek. Despite the sorrow, the regrets, and the painful memories of the Hokage's funeral, something in him burned bright. He remembered Gaara's haunted eyes, the fleeting kisses with Tenten and Ino, the vow to surpass limits. He thought of the nine-tailed beast coiled within his gut, the swirling power of the Monkey King's inheritance. There was so much yet to discover, and so many people he needed to protect. He quickened his pace, catching up to Jiraiya. The road stretched far, vanishing beyond the horizon. Yet for Naruto, each step felt like forging a new destiny. The old monkey's words echoed in the back of his mind. Let the world see the might of the Monkey King's successor, but never forget your heart. He silently swore he wouldn't. And as they journeyed onward, the sun rose higher, painting the sky in warm hues, a promise of tomorrow. Naruto rode the momentum of a brisk morning wind, trailing just behind Jiraiya as they strode away from Konoha's towering gates. Though the sunrise washed the road in gold, an undercurrent of lingering grief followed them. The memory of the third Hokage's funeral, the shell-shocked faces left behind in the village. Yet beneath that sorrow pulsed the promise of something new. Naruto clutched the Rui Jingu bang across his back, mindful of the vow he'd made. He would grow stronger, protect those who mattered, and uphold the will of fire. Jiraiya led him southeast, toward bustling market towns and quiet hamlets. They were searching for Tsunade of the Sannin, gambling addict, legendary medic, rumored to be drifting from place to place. Naruto's role, beyond simply tagging along, was to train. And no matter how much Naruto teased Jiraiya about being a curvy sage, he knew the older man was a formidable mentor. Their journey began with a comfortable routine. Each day, they'd rise at dawn, traverse dirt roads or forest paths, and stop by noon to spar. Naruto practiced controlling T. He nine-tails chakra in measured bursts, learning to form the Rasengan, a swirling sphere of pure energy that Jiraiya claimed rivaled the Chidori in destructive potential. It wasn't easy. Naruto's illusions and the staff's monkey powers sometimes clashed with the shape manipulation required for the Rasengan. But each failure fueled his determination. What's the point if I already have illusions in my staff? Naruto groused one aftng down his brow. He tried once more to mold chakra in his palm, only to have it fizzle out. Jiraiya huffed, arms folded. They're different kinds of weapons, knucklehead. You can't always rely on illusions or a staff. Sometimes a powerful jutsu is exactly what you need. Besides, you said you wanted to surpass your limits. Naruto sighed. Yeah. He closed his eyes, remembering how Sun Wukong never let him get complacent. If he wanted to protect everyone, Tenten, Ino, Sakura, his friends, he needed more than staff tricks. He set his jaw. Fine. One more try. He focused, conjuring swirling chakra in his right hand, letting the staff rest by his side. With a grunt, the sphere vibrated into an unstable mass that sparked out. Jiraiya dodged, eyebrows jumping as bits of energy crackled. Relax, Jiraiya coached. Center it. Give it shape. It took time, more than Naruto expected. Days dragged into weeks, and more than once, Naruto's illusions flared in frustration, sending monkey apparitions dancing around them. Yet slowly, the Rasengan's form stabilized. He could sustain it for half a second, then 2 seconds, then 3. Each time, that swirl of power left him feeling a wild rush, akin to the monkey chi he once learned to wield, but more condensed, more savage. Between training sessions, they visited gambling dens or small towns to chase rumors of Tsunade's presence. Jiraiya would barge into a tavern, ask if anyone had seen a blonde woman with a shapely figure and a knack for losing high-stakes bets. More often than not, they left empty-handed. After another fruitless day, Naruto collapsed on a roadside bench. The afternoon heat pressed down like a blanket. We've been at this for 2 weeks, he muttered. Does Tsunade really exist? Or is she a myth like half the stuff about the Sage of Six Paths? Jiraiya snorted. She exists, all right, probably up to her neck in debt somewhere. We'll find her. They pressed on, eventually hearing rumors that Tsunade had last been spotted near Tanzaku town. News also reached them about Orochimaru's lingering presence in the shadows, rumored to be searching for Tsunade too. A cold coil of Drea tightened in Naruto's stomach whenever he recalled Orochimaru's face at the stadium. The man had killed the Hokage, nearly destroyed the village, and left Sasuke with that cursed mark. If we cross paths with him again, Naruto thought, his fingers drumming on the staff. This time, I won't hold back. They arrived at Tanzaku town at twilight. Bright lanterns lit winding streets brimming with night market stalls and sake bars. Jiraiya, predictably, insisted on lodging at an inn near the local hot springs. He claimed it was necessary research, and Naruto rolled his eyes but decided to enjoy a bath regardless. Their search the next morning led them to a dimly lit gambling hall. Card tables, dice games, and smoky corners filled the space. Naruto wrinkled his nose at the haze. Jiraiya spotted a flash of blonde at a back table, a woman with short ponytails, wearing a gray-green haori, posture casual as she tossed dice. Next to her, a dark-haired assistant hovered anxiously. "Tsunade," Jiraiya called. The woman glanced up, and Naruto recognized the faint lines of frustration beneath her confident facade. "Jiraiya," she greeted with a resigned sigh. "What do you want?" He perched beside her, ignoring the suspicious glares of other gamblers. "We need you back in Konoha. The village is in mourning, and you're the best candidate for Hokage." Tsunade's expression darkened. "Don't start with that. I'm not interested in becoming Hokage, and I have no intention of returning to that place." Naruto, leaning on his staff, felt a spike of anger. "The third Hokage died to protect us. The village is still recovering. If you're strong enough to help, why won't you?" She shot him a steely look. "Kid, you know nothing about my reasons. Don't try the guilt trip." He bristled. "You call yourself a legendary Sannin, but you're running away from your home." Tsunade's assistant, Shizune, looked flustered, trying to diffuse the tension. But the words had been spoken. Tsunade's lips curled in a mix of outrage and pain, her eyes flickering with old wounds. Jiraiya held up a hand. "Easy, Naruto. Tsunade's lost a lot." Tsunade stood abruptly. "I don't need you to speak for me." She tossed her dice across the table in frustration, scattering them. "Leave me be. I have no interest in the title of Hokage." Without waiting for an answer, she brushed past them, Shizune hurrying in her wake. Naruto clenched his fists, wanting to argue more, but Jiraiya murmured that it wouldn't help. They had to let her process it. Over the next couple of days, they followed Tsunade around Tanzaku town, pressing her to reconsider. She refused, lashing out verbally whenever Naruto brought up the third sacrifice. Tensions rose, but beneath her anger, Naruto sensed heartbreak, like a haunted echo. She'd lost her little brother, her lover, and now her beloved sensei. The weight of that grief had turned her cynical. Eventually, Jiraiya threatened to reveal some of her more embarrassing gambling stories if she didn't at least hear them out. Exasperated, she agreed to a single drink at a local bar to discuss the matter. Naruto sat beside Jiraiya while Shizune hovered near Tsunade, who took a long gulp of sake before glaring at them. "You want me to be Hokage," she said bitterly. "What's the point of protecting a village that only repeats tragedy over and over?" Naruto slammed his palm on the table, rattling the cups. "Because there are still people who need us. Isn't that enough? You think the third wanted to die just to keep the cycle going?" "No, he died hoping we'd carry on." Tsunade scoffed, spoken like a naive brat. "Say what you want," Naruto fired back, "but look me in the eyes and tell me the village means nothing." "You can't, right?" Something flickered in her gaze, perhaps guilt or recognition. She looked away. The conversation didn't improve much that night. Tsunade ended it by storming out, leaving Naruto fuming and Jiraiya sighing into his sake. Shizune apologized profusely before chasing after Tsunade. The next morning, things got worse. Orochimaru showed up. Naruto and Jiraiya noticed a sudden hush in the streets. Locals fled indoors as sinister figures in sound cloaks slipped between alleyways. An ominous aura prickled Naruto's skin. They found Orochimaru in a desolate courtyard, accompanied by Kabuto, his pale, bespectacled henchman. Tsunade stood across from them, fists clenched, face tight with rage and confusion. Clearly, Orochimaru had cornered her with some proposition. Jiraiya and Naruto rushed in. Orochimaru's gaze slid toward them, lips curving in a cruel smile. "Ah, Jiraiya, and the little monkey boy. Come to spoil the fun." Naruto's staff nearly hummed with anger at the sight of the man who murdered the Hokage. "You snake bastard," Naruto growled. "What are you doing here?" Orochimaru's eyes glinted. "I came to offer Tsunade a deal. She's a healer of unparalleled skill, and I have certain injuries from our last encounter. If she helps me recover," he trailed off, gaze flicking smugly. "But that's between Tsunade and me." Tsunade trembled, torn. Naruto sensed she wrestled with the idea of using her medical prowess to resurrect the dead heal Orochimaru's arms, who knew what that monster had promised her. He bristled, stepping forward. "You can't trust him, Tsunade." Orochimaru let out a low laugh. "Tsunade wants something only I can give. Why wouldn't she be tempted?" Tsunade's eyes snapped with sudden fury. "I haven't decided yet," she said through clenched teeth. "Get away from me, Orochimaru. I need Time to think. She darted off, Shizune at her side, leaving Orochimaru, Kabuto, Jiraiya, and Naruto in a tense standoff. Orochimaru, though hampered by his sealed arms, lent presence. Kabuto smirked, adjusting his glasses. "We'll be seeing you," he said softly. Then the two vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto swore, fists shaking. Jiraiya's expression was grave. "We have to stop them. If Tsunade actually heals Orochimaru's arms, he'll be unstoppable again." They found Tsunade the next day in a remote clearing outside town. She was lost in thought, staring at a necklace she wore, a keepsake from her brother. When Naruto confronted her, she snapped. "Orochimaru said he could restore my loved ones. Even if it's a lie, a part of me." She paused, anguished. Naruto took a steadying breath. "Don't give in to that. We've all lost people, but you can't trade the future for the past. If the third were here, he'd—" "Don't," she shouted, tears rimmed in her eyes. "Don't speak about Sensei. You think it's easy to just move on." "No," Naruto said softly. "It's not, but you'll regret helping Orochimaru. He'll use that power to hurt more people, including the ones in Konoha who still love you." She grimaced, looking torn. Then, apparently pushed to her limit, she proposed a wager. "Show me that your generation truly has hope. Master that jutsu Jiraiya's teaching you. If you can perfect the Rasengan in a week, I'll believe in the will of fire again. And maybe, I'll consider going to Konoha." Naruto's heart pounded. "Deal. He threw himself into training with renewed fervor, channeling everything he had. Morning to night, he hammered at the Rasengan, calling upon illusions and staff only to recover or fend off kabuki ambushes from local sound spies. Each failure tore at him. He glimpsed Tsunade watching from afar, arms folded, as if waiting for proof that Konoha's spirit wasn't dead. Jiraiya tried to help, but only Naruto could wrestle with the swirling chakra needed to stabilize the sphere. By the fifth day, frustration mounted. Naruto nearly punched a boulder out of sheer anger. Instead, he collapsed, chest heaving. The staff glinted in the dust. He thought of Tenten's fierce grin, Ino's encouraging kisses, and the hope in Hinata's eyes. He thought of Sasuke's rivalry, Sakura's worry, and the third's final gift to Konoha. He closed his eyes, letting the monkey chi merge with his own swirling energy. In his mind's eye, he recalled Wukong's old lessons. Be yourself, brat. Bold, never yielding. He exhaled, letting the swirling chakra form in his hand. It spun, hissed, threatened to disperse. He shaped illusions around it, taming its rotation. In that precious moment, it stabilized, a tight, raging sphere, the Rasengan in perfect form. Tsunade, who had been watching from a short distance, drew a sharp breath. Naruto slammed the jutsu into a nearby rock, blasting it apart in a swirl of dust and flying pebbles. He fell to one knee, cradling his numb hand, but he laughed with raw triumph. "I did it," he wheezed. Tsunade approached slowly, eyes wide. You actually," her voice trembled. Naruto grinned, hair matted with sweat. "Now keep your promise." Her face crumpled in an odd mixture of relief and heartbreak. And in that moment, as if a dam broke inside her, she let out a shaky sigh. "All right, you win. Shortly after that breakthrough, Orochimaru reappeared for Tsunade's answer. The confrontation erupted in a small lakeside clearing. Jiraiya stood guard on one side, Kabuto on the other. Tsunade stepped forward, wearing a resigned expression. Orochimaru sneered, "So you'll do it? Heal my arms." Tsunade's hand hovered over Orochimaru's bandaged arms. Naruto felt panic rising. Was she betraying them after all? But Tsunade's eyes flashed. In a split second, she channeled medical chakra like a scalpel, aiming to cripple Orochimaru further rather than heal him. He shrieked in anger, trying to jerk away. "Traitor!" he hissed. "You dare!" Kabuto lunged, intending to strike Tsunade. But Naruto was already moving. He flicked illusions around Kabuto, staff swirling. Kabuto tried to slash at Naruto with chakra scalpels, but Naruto parried with a precise staff block. Then, with a growl, he unleashed the Rasengan, forcing Kabuto to leap back. A swirl of dust and energy crackled between them. Nearby, Jiraiya engaged Orochimaru, who could inform ninjutsu easily but still possessed cunning. Summons clashed. Jiraiya called forth a giant toad. Orochimaru conjured a monstrous snake despite his damaged arms. The snake-toad battle crashed into the lake, sending waves splashing. Tsunade, cursing her own fear of blood, forced herself to fight through trembling hands to help Jiraiya. Naruto and Kabuto's duel crackled with tension. Kabuto was fast, methodical, trying to sever Naruto's muscle control. Naruto recognized the tactic from the Hyuga style. He refused to let Kabuto land a direct hit. He used illusions to trick him, letting afterimages appear each time Kabuto lunged. The staff hammered in from unexpected angles, forcing Kabuto to retreat. Kabuto sneered, "You might be strong, but can you handle this?" He flung a flurry of kunai dipped in poison. Naruto swatted them aside with the staff, but one grazed his shoulder, sending a jolt of burning pain through his arm. He grimaced, dropping to a knee. Kabuto zoomed in, chakra scalpels raised for a finishing blow. But in that instant, Naruto tapped the Nine Tails chakra, letting it swirl with the monkey chi. A faint, furious red aura enveloped him. His staff glowed with an unearthly golden hue, illusions doubling around them. Kabuto slashed at illusions, only to find each one intangible. The real Naruto sprang behind him, driving the staff into the back of Kabuto's knee. Kabuto stumbled, and Naruto seized the opening. Rasengan whirled in his palm, a chaotic swirl of power that combined red and gold. He slammed it forward into Kabuto's torso. The force erupted, hurling Kabuto across the clearing to crash into a tree. A sickening thud followed, and Kabuto collapsed, stunned. Naruto slumped, shoulder throbbing from the poison. He pressed a hand to the wound, ignoring the dizziness. "That's for the Hokage," he muttered, glaring at Kabuto's limp form. Meanwhile, Jiraiya and Tsunade cornered Orochimaru. The Sannin was battered, unable to form seals properly. He spat curses, eyes wild. Sensing his defeat, Orochimaru let out a deranged laugh. "This isn't over," he snarled, then signaled a retreat. Snakes coiled around him, whisking him away in a swirl of escape jutsu. Kabuto, half conscious, was dragged along. The clearing went quiet, aside from the lingering ripples in the lake and the ragged breathing of everyone left behind. Tsunade dropped to her knees, face pale from the stress of fighting her old teammate. Jiraiya panted, leaning on his staff-like toad summoning wand. Naruto coughed, black spots dancing in his vision. The poison stung. Tsunade rallied her medical skills to treat Naruto, gently extracting the poison with glowing green chakra. Her hands trembled but remained steady enough. You fought bravely," she said, voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe you pulled off that Rasengan. Especially under poison. You're something else." Naruto's vision stabilized. He offered a weak grin. "Hey, old monkey would be proud." She blinked. "Old monkey." Jiraiya snorted. He was raised by son Wukong, the mythical monkey king. "Don't ask," he said, noticing her incredulous look. Tsunade just shook her head with a shaky exhale. "Fine, this world never stops surprising me. But maybe that's not a bad thing." She pressed a final jolt of healing chakra into Naruto's wound, then rose, gazing at the morning sky. "All right," she murmured. "I'll go to Konoha. Maybe I can't fix everything, but if they need a Hokage," she trailed off. Her eyes flicked to Naruto, a trace of fondness under the usual stoic facade. "I guess I'll at least try." Their return to Kon. OHA was far less frantic than their depart. Naruto and Jiraiya journeyed together. On the way, Tsunade further tested Naruto's Rasengan mastery, occasionally offering tips. She also marveled at the Rui Jingu Bang, running her finger along the intricate engravings. "Never seen a staff that resonates so deeply with someone's chakra," she admitted. "It's almost like it has its own life." Naruto explained bits of Wukong's teachings. Tsunade listened quietly. Beneath her calm, a sense of determination grew. She was stepping into the role of Hokage, a responsibility she had once despised. Maybe He saw in Naruto's unwavering spirit a glimmer of the village's future. They arrived at the Leaf Gates late afternoon. Jiraiya parted ways, claiming he had urgent research. Tsunade scolded him for skipping his responsibilities, but he waved them off with a hearty laugh, vowing to check in soon. Naruto escorted Tsunade to the Hokage Tower, where a cluster of elders and shinobi waited. Danzo eyed her warily, but Homura and Kaharu bowed, formally welcoming her. Tsunade's gaze drifted across the crowd, lingering on the memorial of the third Hokage. A hush fell. Then she placed a hand on the carved stone, letting out a slow breath. "I won't replace him," she said softly, "but I'll do my best to protect this village. That much I can promise." A wave of relief and applause rippled through the gathered shinobi. Some wiped tears, others cheered. Naruto watched from the sidelines, staff resting across his back. He felt a deep warmth, as if the final wish of the third had found its fulfillment. "We have a new Hokage." Sakura scurried up, hugging Naruto fiercely. "You're back, and you brought Tsunade-sama. How are you? Are you okay?" She noticed the bandages on his shoulder. He patted her head. "Been better, but I'm alive." Tenten emerged next, relief shining in her eyes. She gave Naruto a small punch to the arm. "You sure took your sweet time," she joked. Then, under the hush of curious onlookers, she leaned in to press a quick kiss to his cheek. He blinked, flushing a bit. Some of the bystanders gasped or snickered, but Tenten didn't care. "Welcome home," she said softly. Not far away, Ino spotted the display. Arching an eyebrow, she too stepped forward, offering Naruto a grin that carried a competitive edge. "Not bad," she teased, slipping her arms around him in a loose hug. "So, did you become even more of a playboy out there, or what?" Naruto coughed, trying not to look too flustered. Hey, come on," she just laughed, ignoring the onlookers. "Glad you're safe, monkey boy." A swirl of warmth enveloped him. Despite the chaotic hearts of his own complicated harem, or whatever it was turning into, he felt genuinely grateful for their support. The open affection, the scolding, the camaraderie, it all reminded him that he was no longer a lonely kid in a distant mountain. He spotted Sasuke standing on the edge of the crowd, arms crossed. The Uchiha's expression was guarded, but a flicker of jealousy or bitterness shone in his dark eyes. Naruto recognized that envy. "He hates that I keep growing stronger. He's chasing his own demons." They locked eyes briefly. Sasuke gave a curt nod, then disappeared into the gathering throng. Naruto sighed, a pang twisting in his gut. He wondered how to reach Sasuke before that jealousy became something toxic. For now, though, Tsunade was being led to the office where she'd assume the title of fifth Hokage. Tenten and Ino hung close to Naruto, eyes sparkling with curiosity about his travels. The day felt lighter than it had in a while, like the sun finally burned away the last shadows of Orochimaru's invasion. Over the next week, Tsunade began healing the wounded, starting with Sasuke's cursed seal, though fully removing it would require more advanced rituals. She also checked on Rock Lee, who had suffered grave injuries fighting Gaara. Her skill reawakened hope across the village. Each day, Naruto felt a renewed sense of purpose. He joined in missions to stabilize trade routes, quell bandit uprisings, and otherwise remind the world that Konoha was far from broken. He spent his evenings in spirited sparring matches with Tenten, occasionally joined by Ino or even Sakura, who wanted to see how far his illusions and staff skills had come. Naruto found playful delight in mixing illusions with the newly mastered Engan, watching Tenten's eyes flare whenever he came close to landing a blow. Sometimes, their sparring ended with them catching their breath in the training ground, tension snapping into a breathless kiss. Yet comedic chaos ensued when Ino showed up to practice her mind transfer jutsu and found them so cozy. She coughed loudly, arms akimbo. "Am I interrupting?" Tenten, cheeks flushed, immediately pulled away. "No, we were just, done with the session." Naruto coughed. "Just training. Honest." Ino rolled her eyes, though she couldn't quite hide a smirk. "Sure. Well, if you're finished, mind if I spar next?" The dynamic was odd. An unspoken rivalry that was half friendly, half possessive, but overall, they coexisted in the swirl of Naruto's life, each forging her own bond with him. Sometimes, all three ended up sharing ramen at Ichiraku, jabbing playful insults about who was the stronger kunoichi. Sakura often watched from a distance, shaking her head at Naruto's incorrigible nature. Meanwhile, Tsunade's presence drastically changed Konoha's atmosphere. She reorganized the hospital, improved medical nin training, and oversaw missions with a firm yet warm leadership style. She found time to scold Naruto's reckless side, occasionally dragging him by the ear into the Hokage office. "You can't just break half the training field to practice illusions," she'd snap, while signing papers. "We have a budget, you know." Quote, Naruto would grin sheepishly. "Sorry, Tsunade-bachan, I'll fix it. Don't call me ba, arg, forget it," she'd groan. But a small smile always tugged at her lips. In quieter moments, Tsunade confided her gratitude to Naruto. She never said it outright, but the tension in her shoulders eased whenever she saw him carrying the spirit of Konoha forward. The unspoken bond spoke volumes. She was the Sannin who once lost faith, but now, thanks to Naruto and the memory of the third, she believed in a future worth protecting. It was during one such day that a masked Anbu brought troubling news. Sightings of the Akatsuki, a shadowy organization rumored to be collecting Jinchuriki. Naruto overheard the hushed conversation. Something about men in black cloaks with red clouds. Dangerously powerful. A chill prickled his skin, recalling Gaara's meltdown and his own bond with the Nine Tails. "They could be after me." Tsunade dismissed the Anbu, then looked at Naruto seriously. "If these Akatsuki members are indeed after-tailed beasts, you must be cautious." He gripped the staff, a mix of anger and excitement stirring. "Let them come. I won't let the Orochimaru stomp on Konoha again." She sighed, massaging her temple. "Still so brash, but that's exactly why. We'll keep an eye on you. And you keep training. The day may come when you face them head on." Naruto set his jaw. "I'll be ready." Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, or at least as normal as it got for a shinobi village recovering from invasion. Buildings were rebuilt, families resumed daily routines, and new missions circulated among the ranks. Naruto found himself bouncing between D-rank tasks to maintain public order and more serious C or B-rank missions, often alongside his old teammates, though Sasuke's mood remained stormy. One evening, Tenten and Ino ended up at Naruto's apartment, a cramped place he barely used except for sleeping. They'd dropped by unannounced, bearing food and prying about how he was adjusting after the trip with Jiraiya and Tsunade. Laughter soon filled the small living space as they recounted comedic-minded Naruto about his King of Monkeys vibe. Eventually, the banter slowed. Tenten's gaze flicked around, noticing the minimal furnishings, a simple bedroll, shelves cluttered with random scrolls, a single photograph of the third Hokage. She softened, stepping closer to Naruto. "Are you really okay after all that happened? You lost someone important." Ino, sinking onto the couch, watched quietly. "We never did get to properly talk about it," she added. "You've been so busy. I know you must still be hurting." Naruto hesitated, the staff leaning against a corner. He let out a slow breath. "Sometimes, it still hits me, you know. The old man was basically my grandpa, but I can't sit around moping. He'd want me to keep going." They nodded, empathy in their eyes. The hush deepened. After a moment, Tenten reached out, lacing her fingers with his. "We're here if you need us." Ino stood, crossing the gap, placing a hand on his shoulder. "That's right, and I'm sure if we told Sakura about this gathering, she'd say the same." Naruto felt a swell of gratitude. He swallowed, smiling with genuine warmth. "Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you." He angled toward them, letting that bold streak shine. A playful grin broke his serious expression. "Besides, I can't be depressed around two gorgeous kunoichi who keep wanting to kiss me." Tenten smacked his shoulder, cheeks pink. "Idiot," Ino snorted. "You wish." But she was blushing too. They ended up sharing an unspoken moment of closeness, a tangle of arms, comforting glances, even a few lingering kisses. It was messy, uncertain, but real. Naruto felt an odd sense of home in that warmth. For all the heartbreak he'd endured, for all the battles still looming, this was one corner of life he could embrace, a sliver of happiness that Sun Wukong's heir had never dared imagine in those early years on the mountain. Time flowed onward. Sasuke, haunted by Itachi's looming threat and jealous of Naruto's growing power, began slipping away into darker thoughts. Naruto felt the tension building every time they locked eyes. Sakura sensed it too, worry etched in her face. They all knew something would give eventually. On a crisp morning, Tsunade summoned Naruto for a private briefing. She sat behind the Hokage's desk, rummaging through scrolls. You're probably aware Sasuke's getting restless. He might do something rash. Naruto's chest tightened. Orochimaru, right, he thinks he'll get power from him. Exactly, Tsunade said, hands laced. I'm going to assign you and Sakura to keep an eye on him. If he tries to leave, you stop him. Understood. Naruto nodded, a steely resolution in his gaze. I won't let him fall into that snake's grasp. The door slid open, revealing Jiraiya, who'd returned from research, with a grim face. Looks like everything's set for the next big wave of trouble. The Akatsuki are moving, Orochimaru's still plotting, and Sasuke's a ticking time bomb. Tsunade frowned. At least we have a stable Hokage now, a stronger Naruto, and the village is healing. We'll face whatever comes. Naruto turned to leave, staff tapping the floor. Then I'll watch Sasuke, he promised. A surge of adrenaline sharpened his senses. This was the next step in his journey, protecting a friend teetering on the edge. He paused in the hallway, letting the swirl of possibilities wash over him, the looming threat of Akatsuki, the overshadowed vengeance of Orochimaru. The complicated relationships with Tenten, Ino, and the rest. Despite the challenges, he felt strangely confident, a rebellious grin creeping onto his lips. I'm the Monkey King's disciple, after all. He glanced out a tall window at the village rooftops below, bathed in morning light. The fifth Hokage was in office, Konoha stood on the road to recovery, and a new wave of challenges brewed on the horizon. He gripped the Rui Jingu Bang, remembering the old monkey's final words, be bold, be free, and protect what you love. That was exactly what he'd do. Naruto pushed off the windowsill and leapt into the open air, vaulting onto a nearby rooftop. His orange jacket caught the breeze as he sprinted across the tiles, illusions flickering around him, staff shimmering with golden patterns in the sunlight. Below, villagers went about their day, comforted by the knowledge that the leaf was still strong. Watch me, old man, Naruto murmured under his breath, imagining Sun Wukong's mischievous grin. I'll take on the world if I have to, and I won't do it alone. He soared from one rooftop to the next, unstoppable, unyielding. A new chapter in his life had begun, one filled with unknown perils, evolving friendships, blossoming romances, and the unwavering resolve to become, not just the Hokage, but a guardian of the entire shinobi world. If the Monkey King had taught him anything, it was to break limits, defy the heavens, and never bow to fate. And with that spirit blazing in his eyes, Naruto Uzumaki raced onward, sure that no matter what darkness rose, he would be the brilliant, golden light that guided his village, and those he cared for, into the future. To be continued.